I was born in Glendale, but I never lived in Glendale. I was living in East LA at the time of my birth with my mother and my father and three sisters, in specifically in the Cypress Park area. But by the time we were, you know, 9, 10 years old, that's when we were starting to jump in to gang fights for our older brothers and sisters.
So now you're pretty involved at a young age, and you end up going to YA at one point, right?
By 16 years old, it was already full out war in my streets. I was involved in a gang related shooting, which would eventually lead to a 45-year to life sentence. Remember, my wife's pregnant.
Right.
The day the jury came back with their verdict, my wife gave birth, bro.
That same day.
Same day. I started processing my life and all the bad things I did, and I was like, this is the rest of my life. Like, it hit me like, this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. Like, started thinking about my mom's gonna die, my dad's gonna die. So I ended up getting the whole conspiracy dropped, which was life by itself anyway.
Charge, the biggest charge.
One of the biggest charges, right? So after all that happened, I ended up with 25 to life.
Yo, welcome back to Reentry Network Podcast. It's your boy Yak.
It's your boy T.
We got another one for you guys today. Yo, we want to bring a really cool guest that y'all have probably seen. I know our audience has seen every now and then, but today's story is gonna be way different because we're really gonna dive deep. Yo, let's give a round of applause for our boy Jojo in the building out here, bro. Thank you so much for being here, bro. For real, appreciate it.
Yep.
Man, I'm excited to be here, man. I've been, following you guys here and there, man, catching some of the stories. And, I always thought, man, that looked like cool vibes right there in that podcast. You know what I'm saying? It just felt like it'd be comfortable. And since I've been here a few minutes, I feel comfortable.
There you go.
I feel like I'm going to take a nap right here, but I'm good.
Hey, hold on.
It's only right. It's only right.
Yeah.
We try to take a different approach because not only are we, we're tied to the nonprofit. This is all right, but we try to separate it in some way. But again, this is what we're doing, and you're here now. You kind of see where we're at. We're in the heart of the hood. We're just always foot traffic is crazy. Not right now, but normally we'll have 30, 40 people out there, all from halfway houses or stuff like that. So when we get people's stories, it's like we want to hear the testimony of it more than the war story side. And the reason for it is because 9 times out of 10, everybody wants to tell their story. They all kind of want to. Everyone has thought about, hey, I want to try to divert a kid or something. Right. And so time and again, it's popped up where people want to tell their testimony, and I'm like, bro, why not? Let's get people on here. Let's get these stories out here so people can pick and take what they need and figure out their journey,
Yeah.
So yeah, like my boy said, B said, you've been on a couple podcasts, but again, we gonna just do it, run it. We want to take it back, hear a little bit about you, your upbringing, your come up. Where'd you grow up?
Cool. Yeah. So I was born in Glendale, but I never lived in Glendale. I was living in East LA at the time of my birth with my mother and my father and three sisters, specifically in the Cypress Park area. And it was pretty crazy, man. It was pretty crazy in my early years. And I've shared it often that I don't know how many 4-year-olds can actually remember events of being 4 years old, but one of the ones that really stand out to me still very clearly, and if I was to really meditate on it, I could probably, still smell certain things and really, really visualize what was going on at that time in my life at 4 years old. Because at 4 years old, I was already surrounded by gang violence. My house was being shot up. My sisters and her friends were already active, and it was kind of like a first nature for me, even being so young, to see all of that stuff, and even to see my family fighting with the cops, like identifying the cops as the enemy, which was LAPD, and them are my real early memories of seeing like a community come together against the cops, because the drug back in them days was really PCP, you know what I mean? And I remember the guys, the homeboys being PCP'd out on the streets and fighting with the cops. And I would be like right there looking down, because right there in Cypress Park, the houses are on hills and you could look down towards the street. And it's like, it's your house, and then it's a garage, and then it's the streets, So I would always be in my kitchen right there looking down in the street and seeing all the action, you know. And what's crazy is that my mom and my dad, you know, I was fortunate, and I'll just say this off the top, you know, I don't got that sad story of, you know, poor old me. We were a
Mm-hmm.
poor family, went without needs, you know, grew up on top ramens. That wasn't us. You know, we were blessed. My mother and father both had jobs. They worked hard. Didn't have a lot of money, but you know, we didn't go without, you know, my family. And my mother and father, they decided, my father was a veteran, by the way. He was a Marine.
Okay.
Vietnam, I mean, he was a grunt in the Marines. I'm talking about, you know, neck deep in blood and guts, man. My dad was crazy. He was an alcoholic and stuff. And but he was a worker though, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, you know, alcoholism takes on different forms for different people. My father used to wake up every morning, I believe about 5:30, to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. He would come home later on in the early evening, like maybe 5 o'clock or so, and he would come home with a 6 pack, a 12 pack, go to his room and just pound until we passed out and repeated the same thing. You know, he always went to work. You know, he wasn't that alcoholic that was just, you know, out on the streets, where he worked, and it was the same routine. You know what I mean? And I always share with people because um, my dad was like a baseball coach. He was a cool guy away from the home, cool guy. But in the home, though, especially when he wasn't drunk or something, he was grouchy. And my family, they would testify, he's grouchy. He's always like nitpicking stuff. And the whole house had to be clean all the time. You know, he had that sergeant mentality, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, every day before school, I had to make up my bed. I had to take out my trash. Like, my room had to be immaculate, or else I would get disciplined if it wasn't, you know. And so
Real quick, because I do have a question on this.
yeah.
You said you had sisters, though. You had older sisters,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
older sisters. I'm the baby.
How old were your sisters, or how much older are they?
The next one above me is probably like about 5 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And then from her to the next one is probably like maybe 3 years. And my oldest from me is probably, I want to say she's probably like 20 years older than me.
So you
Yeah,
got a
that's
lot
big
of the
gap, yeah.
yeah, especially that. But it seems like you got a lot of like the male figure. You were the only son. Dad
Yeah.
was like, I got to make sure that you good, like you solid type deal.
And you know what? As you bring that up, though, my mom was in a previous marriage with my three sisters, weren't from my dad. I'm the
Okay.
only son from my dad.
Okay.
And I used to hate that because my dad would discipline me like crazy. I mean, throwing me through drywall. I mean, literally like kicking me
Jesus.
through walls and stuff whenever I would mess up. But my sisters, they would come home high, drunk, and my dad would just like leave that to my mom, you know, like that's her kids. I mean, he never treated them like stepkids or nothing like that, because a lot of, except for my oldest sister, I think my oldest sister was probably like a teenager when my dad came into the picture, you know what I mean? But my sisters loved him as a dad and everything, you know. He took care of them as a dad, but he would never discipline them though. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, they would come home shermed out,
Yeah.
you know, coked out, drunk, whatever, and pops wouldn't do nothing to him, and I'll be looking like, Dad, go ahead, you know, like whip her butt,
Like,
you
show
know
her
what I mean?
what's up.
But no,
That drywall's good right there, man. That drywall's good. It's fresh. Get her in there.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see you throw them through the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my mom was
Nah, I
no
shouldn't
joke,
be
and
playing
it's
like that,
crazy
though,
though
for real.
because my mom wouldn't really hit me. She would hit me, but not like the way she would go off on my sisters. And it's crazy too because my mom would let them. They would come in drunk or whatever, high, whatever, put them to bed, and she would just leave them alone. But early in the morning, she would like start whipping them in the sleep, like get your butt. You thought I forgot about what happened? You
right.
know what I mean? So,
And you-
anyways, at 4 years
And
old,
I noticed that hurts more most of the time when all right, you're cool right now, but I'm gonna get you in the morning. I ain't even gonna let you sleep in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so anyways, at 4 years old, right before 5 years, and I know the timing because I started preschool in the city of La Puente. They moved us to La Puente. And I swear, when we moved there, I was so happy because the house, it had a swimming pool. There was trees and there was grass. And because right there where we were at in Cypress Park, it was like mainly just all cement. There was like no front yards. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, it's the street and then it's the garages, which were like box garages, right? Where you like park in the garage. And then and then just the house. There was really no front yards to play football or not. You know, it was just like concrete right
Yeah.
there. But when we moved to La Puente, there was like big trees. It looked like greenery, and front yards were big, and it was cool. And the crazy thing is that right away when we moved in, there was all kinds of kids my same age on that street. I'm talking about maybe like 25 kids, like on my street and behind my street, like you know, like that little.
That's a good chunk of friends right there, bro. That's
Oh
a lot of
yeah, and
people.
and when we started preschool and kindergarten, we were all in the same classes and stuff. And then you know throughout elementary and everything, we were always tied. We played little league together. We played Pop Warner football together. We wrestled, we boxed, we did everything together with like a lot of my homies. You know what I'm saying? And when we got there, I don't know if my mom and dad, because the story was that they moved us out of LA into La Puente to get us away from, really to get my sisters away from all the gang banging that was going on over there. You know what I mean? Because like I said, my sisters were already pretty active. And what happened is when we moved there, I don't know if my mom and dad went and looked on a day where there was no activity, but where they put us, there's like probably, I want to say maybe 6 different cliques that are right there that they weren't getting along. It was like literally in a war zone. And as we started growing up, of course, we started seeing it. My sisters got with the new homeboys and started, you know, just continued in that lifestyle, you know? So we were right back in the mix again, you know? But growing up, I'll be honest with you, I never looked at that lifestyle as anything bad. I just thought that's just what it was. You know what I mean? Because I had been seeing it for so long, I just figured, you know, that's just the way life is.
Right.
You
When
know?
you say you've been seeing it for so long, because I caught it earlier, you said that your sisters were part of that life too, right?
Yeah.
How soon did they get involved? When were they already involved when you were like
Yeah,
at 4
I mean,
years
I was
old?
only 4, so I don't remember, you know what I mean? Like my youngest one, she had to have been like almost 10 years old. So, and my other one was like 15. The other one was already, you know, maybe a little bit younger. I think my oldest sister was probably like 16, 17 when I was 4, whatever that age gap is. Because I know she wasn't like in her 20s yet, because she ended up marrying in her 20s when we were already in La Puente, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so my older sister, she was probably like, you know, mid-teenager when she was involved in what was going on there. And then my other one was a couple years younger than her. And me and my youngest sister, you know, we got more active in La Puente as we started getting into our teenage years, you know?
That's nuts. Getting active with a sibling like that together.
Well, you guys are
Ideally,
growing up in
right?
the same environment,
Yeah.
Yeah,
same area.
yeah.
And I think you have a particular thing where you actually grew up. You're not one of those ones that's just going back on the weekends because you happen to be there. You're living on the street with these kids, and you guys are growing up not knowing
Yeah.
that eventually you would probably be given a nickname. Now you're being tied to this area. And
Yeah.
before you know it, like your crew of childhood friends, they categorize it as a gang. You know? But,
Exactly. And that's the way it is. And that's the way I describe it. Like I was saying right now, I was always a team player. Since I was 5 years old, I played T-ball, you know, foreign, minor, major. I was always a part of a team. And these same kids were always on my team. You know what I mean? We were always connected, you know? And it's crazy too, because even at a young age, we already had like, you would say, some gang style ethics where it was like we were allowed to fight with one another, but other kids from other streets away from us, you weren't allowed to come over and fight with us, because if you fought with one of us, you were going to get it from all of us. Like, we weren't going to let you come over here. We'll let you like squab heads up for a minute, but if you start getting the best of one of us, we were all going to jump in. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way it was, you know? But we didn't see other kids from other streets. We would ride our bikes all over the place, so all kinds of different neighborhoods, and we never thought of anybody being enemies, you know what I mean? But we all had, like I said, older sisters, and my other friends had older brothers, and I had a god brother that my mom's you know, and dad are the Nino and Nina of them, and he was a lot older than me too, and he was involved not in the gang stuff. Actually, he didn't get along with a lot of my homeboys because he was about money. He was about money, and he had the low riders, he had the guns, and he had like just things going on, transactions, different things. You know what I mean? I mean, eventually he would end up getting busted for murder for hire. That's the type of stuff he was involved in, you know. But he was a big influence in my life. I mean, when I officially got into the neighborhood, I mean, he beat me down. He was like, man, didn't I tell you, you don't need them, you know? Like, he had animosity towards my homeboy, and he wasn't afraid to get down with none of my homeboys. He would pull up in my neighborhood when I was already like full active, be like, get your butt in the car. My homies be like, you just better go, man. And that fool, I mean, that fool had like Uzis and stuff when Uzis weren't even in my neighborhood at the
Damn.
time. You know, that fool was coming
Yeah.
like with straps because of what he was involved in and stuff. So a lot of my homeboys were afraid of my brother. I call him my brother. He was my god brother, but he was a major influence in my life too. You know, but yeah, regarding like getting into the gang stuff, I don't want to flip flop all over the place. But like I said, I was a team player and stuff. And as we got older, um, you know, we didn't. It wasn't like any of us really even got jumped into our actual gang. We got jumped into our cliques, but not actually jumped in because in Puente we have Puente Trece, which covers everybody. But then we have all these different streets. There's like 25 streets. You know what I mean? That each street, you know, has their own certain little area and stuff. But for the longest, we had just claimed Puente and stuff. And then when we got into a clique, that's when it was more like,
Official.
yeah, like this is my clique. While it was official when we were getting shot and stabbed and doing
Oh, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
representing just our neighborhood in general. But it's crazy too because a lot of us, we got into different cliques, you know what I mean? But we were always still tight. So there was like 6 different cliques already. So they were already established.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we were like in there. And I
like a
grew up
pick
on
and
the
choose.
east side of Puente. And where I grew up at in the east side, we have the original Barrio Puente there. Then we have East Side Puente there. And we have Dial Boulevard, which is a big clique there. And then there's other cliques, but they're not really a part of Puente. We have Happy Homes Grande, then we had Eastside Dukes, then we had Townsmen, and later on we had Rowdies and Little Hill. We had a lot of different cliques. And yeah, so but by the time we were, you know, 9, 10 years old, that's when we were starting to jump in to gang fights for our older brothers and sisters. They were fighting. And remember, we're ballers. I mean, when I say ballers, I'm not talking about dope dealers. We're playing kickball, baseball, football, everything in the
Yeah, yeah.
streets. You know what I mean? We used to play sports in the streets, you know what I mean? And when we would see our older brother or sister getting down with somebody, we're like, what's going on? We had baseball bats. We'd run down there and jump in, you know what I mean? We're like, hey, they're getting down with somebody.
nuts, man.
You know what I mean? And at the same time, there's people getting shot and people dying right there on our streets. And
You're so young at that age, bro.
That's what I'm
It's
thinking. Like that
nuts,
is a young age to like adopt that identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To say, hey, from 9 to 10 playing bikes to just one day, just like it's really young. You know, to be like, well, you know, I'm with it. This is what it is. You know.
yeah.
So what was that reaction from Dad then? I mean, he's
Yeah,
a
good
he's a you know.
Well,
a
dad's
military dude.
dad's originally from East LA. He was from the Aliso Village. He was from Pimento Flats. My dad growing up. Thing that saved him was the Marine Corps. When he became a Marine, I don't know if you know any Marines, but when you become a Marine, you're a Marine to the day you die. And
I know one.
he held on to that. You know, he was able to escape, you know, whatever he was going. You know, what I hear from my grandma and my aunts and stuff is that, you know, he wasn't a bad kid, but he was starting to go that way. But right from high school, he went straight to the Marines. By the time he was 19 years old, he was in Vietnam in the grunt and stuff. I have photo albums of him wearing earlobes, man, earlobes around his necks, you know, from the war, like collecting earlobes.
I remember
and
I've
stuff.
seen that's history right
And
there.
yeah, I have pictures, like some crazy pictures.
Damn,
Vietnam, like
Vietnam,
black and white. I
Yeah.
was like, who's taking these pictures? Like, where'd you get these pictures from, you know?
What goes through your head when you see that? Like, what are you thinking about Pops?
I mean, my pops was my hero, bro, to tell you the truth. I mean, ever since I was young, I mean, I've always heard war stories. I mean, real war stories.
Legitimate
Not from the
war
streets. I'm
stories,
talking
yeah.
about
Stories,
from
right.
Vietnam War to my older uncles, the Korean Wars. Like, all my family's military, and even myself, I wanted to be a Marine. And, you know, that's a long story in itself. But I grew up hearing them stories, you know what I mean? Watching all these, you know, all these military movies and going to the Marine Corps base out in San Diego. And that was my dream to be a Marine like my dad. My dad was my hero, man. I mean, regardless of any of his character defects, my dad was my hero. I mean, he was the greatest handyman. I mean, he's a man's man, you know? I mean, he was he's a type that was he like almost caught him off his finger. We were moving a refrigerator and his finger was like hanging. He said, "Ah, man, give me some duct tape." He's the type like
Nah.
just
No
put
way.
some
Yeah.
put some toilet paper, duct tape it. Like, come on, let's keep going,
Get
And
some Vicks real quick.
yeah, and it's crazy, man. But my dad, my dad was like for real. He was like my hero. It wasn't until I got a little older and started rebelling that me and him started bumping heads. But during growing up, though, he taught me a lot of structure. He taught me manners. I grew up always saying yes, sir, no, sir. When I was introduced to somebody, shake their hand, nice to meet you, sir. Always thank you, please. Always asking permission. I wasn't just a bad kid. My dad taught me a lot of values that would eventually, become a part of my character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? One thing. So now I'm curious about because I know you were pretty active at a young age, but I think we talked about you did have like some incarceration experience right then and there too, right?
Yeah, you know what? I was lucky a lot. I would say I was lucky a lot because I was arrested for a lot of stuff. Me and my friends were always arrested for stupid stuff, riding on the walls. We lived by train tracks. We got caught breaking into trains and stuff, and because we always used to hear about people breaking in trains and getting big packages and just a bunch of different things. Because
I've
I'm
heard
talking about
about
the
that.
cargo trains.
Yeah.
My neighborhood is right there, right by Valley Boulevard, and there's trains right there. And we would go over there, bolt cut the fence, and bolt cut the locks off them, open up them, and go in there and stuff. We always used to play on the train since we were little. We started originally playing on the train tracks to get the bearings from the things, which were steelies. Back then there was marbles, and then there was
Oh,
steelies.
yeah.
So we'd always have these big old steelies, and we would just collect them along the train things. And then I forgot which homie. Some homie was like, "Yeah, bring the bolt cutters. Let's see what's in these." And our luck, we would break into something that was nothing. That was empty or whatever.
Damn.
But we would get busted for breaking windows, egging house, like stupid, stealing bikes, vandalism, just stupid stuff like that. And then I would say about 11 years old when I started getting in trouble for like batteries, assaults, possession of deadly weapons. Yeah, I would say about 11, 12 years old, driving a car without owner's consent. I was probably about 13, I would say. I used to take my mom's car.
Damn,
And
bro.
I would get caught with like a weapon. And every time, though, every
That's
time,
crazy.
my mom, even my sister, my youngest sister, it's funny because even on my police reports, they have her as my mom. She's my sister, but they were like, "Yeah, call your mom to come get you." I'd call my
Call your
sister,
sister.
and my sister would come, and my mom wouldn't even know about it.
So sister became like the go-to, like, hey, she's gonna call her and stuff.
Yeah,
Call my
they
mom
were
for
the
real, for real, call
enablers.
my-
Yeah, all of my sisters would come and get me.
So mom never found out you took the car. Is what I'm.
No, well, mom would know though because
they.
they wouldn't impound the car. They would all back then. They used to just leave the car there, take the keys, and whoever came, they would give the keys to him. Yeah, he was driving without a license, and it's called driving without owner's consent. You know what I mean? So it was like I don't remember being given fines or anything. After a while, I would get on probation. Mainly later on, it was always probation. And it was crazy though, because I violated probation a gang of times, and it was always just like, I'd go to court and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're going to remain on probation with this and
A
that."
slap on the wrist, nothing crazy. Like,
Yeah. Until one time I was at one of the high school football games, and the cops searched me, and I had a butterfly knife. You remember them butterfly knives,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
ninja knives? I had one of them, and they said that I was using it to try to break in a car. I was like, I wasn't trying to break in no car. So at that time, they had got me for attempted car theft or whatever, attempted GTA or whatever, and they took me to the station. They were like, "Yeah, you're going to juvenile hall right now." And one of the gang units came in and he distracted them. And I was like, it was crazy because when the gang unit cop came in, he was like, "Hey, Jojo, when was the last time we took a picture of you?" I said, "You just took a picture of me a while back." And it was, "I'm going to take him over here and stuff." And he started taking my picture and stuff. And they ended up letting me go. They were like, "Yeah, call for a ride or whatever." And I was like, "What the heck? I was just
Damn.
supposed to go." But one thing that I realized with City of Industry sheriffs is that when they thought that they were building cases against you, they'll let you ride on little stuff to get you for the bigger stuff.
Yeah, it seemed like a test. Like it was like a
when they started to
setup.
have a paper trail on you, they would like kind of let you hang yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, as soon as
Yeah.
you said it, I couldn't help but think that's exactly what it is. It's that old school style of policing. We're gonna let you hang yourself. You know,
Yup.
like yeah, sure, we ain't gonna do nothing. Go ahead, go out, because I know you're gonna get caught for the big one. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
it sucks that tends to happen more often than not. You know, how many times do they do that to youngsters, and then instead of getting busted and learning a lesson off of a year and a half, now they go do an attempt, and they're
Yeah,
sitting there
right.
forever now.
Yeah.
So was he? He was basically affiliating you when he was taking your pictures, right?
Yeah.
Especially, did you already have tats and stuff at that time?
I think I had the 3 dots and the cross. I forgot what else. Oh, I think I had my first tattoo right here. I had
You're
I
like
had
what,
my
12?
neighborhood at that time.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get that tattoo. I'm probably like at 13. I think I got it.
Did
That's when I
Pop?
got that
But did
one.
Pop see that? He didn't get pissed.
A little. When he saw this, he said, "Oh,
he
so now
knew.
you're a tough guy," you know, because like I had other family members that, "Oh, now you're a tough guy, huh?" This and that, and I was like, "Nah, I ain't tough or whatever," you know. It was like I said, my dad was brought up in that lifestyle, and my mom's the one that, I mean, I didn't have no job at it as a kid, so my mom's the one that bought me all my khakis, my Ben Davis, my 501s, my Pendletons, you know what I mean, my P buckles and beanies and all my whole little wardrobe. Mom used to be like, "Come on, you know, go get some, you know, we're gonna go school shopping, grab some khakis, you know, go grab some Nike Cortez or whatever, you know." And
Cortez, man.
yeah, but about that time too, probably about like 12, 13, that's when we really started hustling too. I was selling at that time, this was like mid 80s when rock cocaine was the dope. You know, rockheads were, I mean, that was the big thing. So we had learned how to rock up cocaine, and we were out there, you know, making money, you know, as young kids. I mean, we're making anywhere from $1,000, $2,000 in a day just serving, you know, crack.
Yeah.
So it was like I didn't have to ask mom. I was giving mom's money now. You know what I mean? Like, here, mom, you know, bam, bam, or whatever. But
They
yeah,
didn't catch a drift, like, oh, like where are you getting all this money from? Like, what?
they knew, man. My mom and dad knew, and you know, they had the talks with me, but it was like they both worked. Both my mom and dad worked from early in the morning. I mean, I'm talking about throughout my whole elementary, junior high school. I had to get myself ready in the morning, eat a bowl of cereal, and go right down the street. Like three doors down from my house, 3 houses down was the school bus. So all my homies would gather right there, and we'll take the school bus to school, and then we would come home, and then my dad made sure, though, I mean, trip out on this, my dad made sure, though, that I had play clothes and school clothes. So when I came home, I had to change out my school clothes and play in my play clothes, you know what I mean? Because if I messed up my school clothes, they're like, you're gonna go with them, you know,
Messed
ripped up pants.
Yeah.
And that was in style back then. Back then, you know, you get a hole in your Levi's, you're looking, you know, like you're looking trash, you know, and
Yeah,
not like
you like
today.
it. You
You
like
know,
it.
today everything's cut
You're
up.
buying
And
that.
that's
Yeah.
the style. Back
Yeah.
then, you know, moms would put a patch in it, you know. But yeah, though, man. But I gotta say though, my younger years, I'm talking about elementary, not junior high, maybe elementary. Let's just say all elementary. They were just fun years with my friends, bro. I mean, we had so much fun playing outdoors, you know, riding bikes and like I said, playing sports, you know, and we were very competitive, all of us. And like I said, there was like a lot of kids my age. So we were, you know, we had enough kids to make our own teams. You know what I mean? Like, all right, today, Jojo, you and Chubby are going to be the captains. And we just pick and play football out on the street, you know, straight concrete. We'll be playing football, you know?
The way back in the day, that's how they all say it. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I used to play on these streets. I used to play hockey right
you
there.
used to have to interact.
Right.
Yeah, you know, we
Yeah,
didn't have
no
no cell
phones,
phones,
no
no
nothing in
computers.
sight.
We were outdoors, you know what I mean? And it's not the same though. That rule didn't apply to us. What everybody always says when the street lights turn. Nah, we stood out there till 10, 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? Playing. We'd go in, eat, whatever, and then come back out. And back in the days, I mean, the way people would call it, they would just yell for us. I'll be down the street. My mom would be outside yelling my name. Jojo, come on, you know, or Gabriel, come on, Chubby, come on, whatever. We're like, hey, whose mom is that? Oh, that's your mom. She calling you, fool. You got to go. You know what I mean? And then
Did you ever get hit with like, hey, they're calling us? You're like, I ain't calling. They're calling you.
Yeah, they're calling you. I'm staying. You
I'm
go.
staying.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And back then, I mean, if I was at my homeboy Chubby's house and we were acting up or something, man, it was like all the parents had permission to hit us. If we were messing up, I mean, it seemed like all the parents had permission.
Were
to
you
hit
with
us.
him
We
too?
done got whipped. We done got whipped. we done got whipped many of times by different homies, moms and dads. I mean,
Shit.
not across the face, nothing like that, but,
Nah,
you know,
but-
shoot, they come swinging that bout at us. You know what I mean?
So now you're pretty involved at a young age, and you end up going to YA at one point, right?
Well, yeah, at 16 years old, 16 years old, by 16 years old, it was already full out war in my streets. I mean, we had already engaged in, you know, it's on and cracking now. You know, everything else, all
Anything
the
you can think
sports,
of type shit.
all of that is out of the picture now. You know what I mean?
That same street too, though, that you guys were all living on. And the reason I asked is because now you really can't get away. There's no out, right? If you're especially if your block became the hot one, now you're that's a you know.
You know what's crazy? Look, let me tell you something. So this is a little twist in the story. So where I grew up at in the east side, right? I have all my homies I grew up with. But the clique I ended up being from is on the other side of town.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, it's on the other side of town. It's crazy like that. So anyways, I grew up on the east side, Dial Boulevard, everything's on that side, right? But where I started going to school, I was going to this continuation school. And I had got kicked out. 6th grade, I got kicked out of my school district, right? I got down with the school principal, the vice principal, and they expelled me from the school.
What does getting down mean? Like, what's getting down?
Well,
Like, you really-
he tried to manhandle me. He grabbed me by my arm and he was dragging me. And you know, it's a grown man. You know, I'm in 6th grade. How old are you? Like 12?
Shit, probably like 10,
12,
10 to
13, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So he's dragging me, and I'm like, man, like leave me. And I was a small kid at the time. I think I was probably like 4'4", maybe like 90 pounds. You know what I mean? He's like literally like grabbing me from my arm and squeezing me. I forgot what I did, but I remember he grabbed me, and I'm like, man, let me go, man. Like, let me go. And he's taking me to the office. And it's funny though, because you heard me mention the name Chubby and Gabriel. And so these were like my good friends. They were my neighbors. So we all lived right next to each other. So behind my house was their 2 houses.
Yeah.
So we used to go to each other's houses by jumping the wall, right? These were like my best friends growing up. And they seen what was going on, and they tackled the principal like from behind, like they like hit him, boom. So he fell down and stuff, and now he's down, and I'm free, and I'm like, yeah, fool, how you like it now? You know what I mean? And but I'm the
is
one that
nuts.
got caught. Gabriel and Chubby, they ended up getting caught like the following. They ended up getting kicked out of the school district too, but I got kicked out of the school district for that. So now I'm on another side of town where a lot of my enemies are, and I'm like, heck with it, I'm gonna go. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go. So I was going over there to these other schools, Giano. Giano was the junior high school that I was now going to in the 7th grade. And I had told my mom, I'm going to do good, Mom. I promise you, I'm going to do good this time. And I was doing okay. I was getting, you know, some decent grades or whatever. I wasn't fighting as much. I had a couple of fights, got suspended, but I didn't get expelled. I didn't have no weapons or nothing. Just regular fights, you know, 3-day suspensions or whatever. But I was still like doing pretty good as far as curriculum goes. You know, I wasn't just not caring about school. And then when I got to high school, my freshman year is when I really started having issues, you know what I mean, with dudes from the other side of town. So I started taking a knife to me because I got jumped one time. And it was crazy because the high school that I went to, this was a diverse. In La Puente, it's majority all Mexicans, all Hispanics, Latinos, whatever, you know. But at Nogales, there was a lot of blacks, a lot of Filipinos. There was a lot of like inner cliques within the thing, and there was this group called they were called like La Puente Stoners, and then they had the PRs. The Filipinos were like the PR, and they were deep, man. They were like deep, and the blacks. There was a lot of Crips over there at the time. West Covina neighborhood Crips were there, and so I'm over there like fighting with these dudes, and I had got jumped one time. So I said, man, I'm taking a knife to school now. And I wasn't flashing it to nobody or whatever, but they checked my locker and they found it. So now here I go. I'm getting expelled from that school district now. But my old school district now, since it's been like 3 years, they took me back. They're like, okay, we'll take you back. But I was put on probation for having that knife. So I was going to a probationary school called COPE. It's community, community. I forgot what it is. I forgot, but COPE stood for something program. Okay. So I was going there, and when I went there, it was a smaller room than this, and there was like 6 homies there that I knew from the neighborhood growing up with. So we used to get out of school early, like at 12 o'clock before the rest of the high schools at 2 o'clock or whatever. Yeah. We got out at 12 o'clock. So at 12 o'clock, we would go to like La Puente High School where all the homies were and stuff. and then we would hang out there, and then we'd go to this one street where there was like all the activity. It was called Catbrook Street. And when I would go there, that's where like a lot of the cliques would just meet up and hang out, and that's where all the girls would go. And it was just like that was the scene. That was where everything was happening. And all these homies that I was playing baseball with, football with when we were young kids, they're now active in the neighborhood too.
They're around, yeah,
and
yeah.
at this time, I'm still just claiming Puente, right? Because I'm from the east side. I'm just claiming Puente. Then eventually they were like, "Hey, fool, you're always over here. You've been banging with these other dudes from these other streets. They think you're from these streets. They already shot at you thinking you're from these streets. You might as well get into the clique."
Damn.
And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, let's do it." So I ended up getting jumped in traditionally. A couple homies rushed me, and after that, it was on and cracking. Representing that clique. And then let me see, that was like 15, probably about like 2 years. No, but like 2 years later. When was that? That was 80, like 87, 88, 89. 89, I was involved in a gang-related shooting, which would eventually lead to a 45-year to life sentence. I was tried as an adult, found guilty. And the crazy thing about it, not to get into a bunch of details.
15 years old. At 15
16.
16.
16. I had just turned 16.
Catch a crazy
My
case.
birthday was on January the 11th. On January the 19th, I picked up the case. Yeah. I had just got my driver's license on my birthday. I didn't even get
that's
my actual
young,
driver's license. I just had the paper. And I remember I told my mom, because I kept on getting my mom's car impounded and everything because I kept on taking it. I remember I said I would always drive it without owner's consent. And then later on, they started, instead of just leaving it there parked and having somebody they started to impound it and stuff. So I told my mom, I'm going to get my license so they don't impound it no more. So I got my license, you know what I mean? I ended up getting my license at 16 years old, and I never got the hard copy. I just had the little paper.
The little paper permit?
When I got busted, yeah. And and when I went to juvenile hall, it was like a whole different experience because I was familiar with like our gangs, but when I got there, I started meeting everybody from like, South LA, the Harbor area, and all my road dogs, they ended up being like from Florencia, East Side Longo, and and I fought it from 16 years old to 17 years old. I fought it for a whole year. And it's crazy though, because back in 1989, oh, you have a water here.
Yeah, you're good.
Back in 89, back in 1989, the rules were they couldn't bond you to superior court on hearsay. They had to have now it's different, but back then they had to have a physical witness, and the only witness, all the dudes that were involved in the shooting, they all came and said it wasn't me. All of them, everyone. My crime partner, dude that was in the car with us when it all happened, he's the one that ended up testifying against me. But
Was he a childhood friend too, though? Sandbox? Okay.
he was one of the ones, like you said, he moved over from LA to La Puente. I believe he was like in the 7th grade at the time. Remember, I wasn't there on that side of school during the 7th grade. I had got shipped to the other side. So I didn't meet him until later on when I started hanging around the rest of the cliques when I came back on that side of town.
Got you.
So he wasn't like born and raised. And that's one of the things in La Puente. We're very traditional, like most of my homeboys are born and raised in La Puente. There's very, very few, if any, that I know of that, you come in as a teenager and get into our neighborhood. It usually don't work like that.
Yeah.
For the most part, a couple of times it's happened, in this case it did. I mean, he was down. He was from LA. He came, he had that attitude. He was cool though. He started banging against our enemies. You know what I mean? They were like, hey, like, what do you think?
Might as well.
They were like, shoot, he's already putting in work. That fool's a gunner. You know what I mean? He's down for his, like, you know what I mean? And it's crazy though, because he came representing his neighbor from LA and wanted to get into our neighborhood.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that time, was that still like that was never a thing, right? Not even in the 80s, 90s, to just be able to jump from something like that.
Yeah.
One community to the next.
Yeah. I mean, I
It was
I
more on
didn't know
his end,
about.
yeah,
I
not
never
your-
knew of anybody doing that. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, because he was putting in work on our enemies,
right,
yeah.
it was kind of like, dude's kind of like earned his points. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like he seems down. He knows all the, he's willing to fight. He's willing to shoot. This fool's. I mean, we were in a lot of fights, and he was right there with us. You know what I mean? So
So when you found out, were you like in the courtroom and it was like, oh, you
I know
were
that has to be a cold feeling.
testified,
Like,
blah blah.
so let me
testified
tell
against
let
you?
me tell you how it all outplayed the short version. Okay, they came and picked me up in a stolen car. I was in the neighborhood waiting for some girls. They come. They had a stolen truck, right? And they come up and they're telling me it was right. Remember, we get out of school at 12 o'clock, so it's about 2 o'clock now. We're in the neighborhood, and he comes and says they're going to go to the other high school to go pick up these girls that he's messing with. And I was like, I'm already waiting for some other girls. They're like, come on, fool, just go. And because it was in our enemy neighborhood, I was like, you know what, I'll go just in case, just in case I'm gonna go with the homies. So even though I wasn't going for none of the girls or whatever, but I was like, these are my homies, I'll roll with them. Like, let's bring me right back though. So when we go, we get these two girls. We pick up two girls. He was originally in the front seat, and my other homie was driving. I'm in the back seat. When the two girls come, and since he's messing with one, we switch roles. So I go to the front seat. As we're driving off, my homie tells us, "Hey, there's the other day we chased some fools right here, right?" And I was like, "Where at?" And he was like, "Right there where the garage doors open." And I was like, "Okay." So we're driving by, and as we're driving by, there's a gang of fools right there in the driveway, inside the garage and in the driveway. I was like, there they are right there. So as we're driving by, start throwing up our neighborhood and stuff, disrespecting them. And they came out. I don't know if they were working on the driveway or whatever, but they started throwing bricks at us. They just
All kinds of
started
shit,
throwing
huh?
stuff, you know what I mean? So my homeboy goes all the way around the corner, and they're still running the street towards us. And I'm telling my homeboy, run them over, run them over, like they're right there in the street, run them over. And mind you, though, remember, we have two girls that I don't know who they are. They're not from my
oh,
neighborhood.
that's right. You're just
We have the
partying
two
with
girls.
2 girls. Yeah.
We had just picked them up within like minutes ago. And that's usually not our get-go. I mean, it was real stupid play on us. Things happen really fast. So I'm like, just run them over, fool. The homie in the back starts telling me, "Hey, open the glove compartment. There's a cuete in there. There's a gun in there." And I'm like, "What?" So I open it up, and big old 357. It looked like Clint Eastwood, right? Like
Crazy.
Dirty Harry, make my day, And so I get it, and I get out the car, and I have it behind me, and it's heavy, man. It's a heavy gun, and I'm telling them, "Come here, like, come on, keep coming." And I'm like dodging bricks and stuff, and they're far, and they're throwing these rocks, and I just pull up on them, and I just start shooting. Boom, boom. It wasn't a drive-by. I was literally out the car. They're in the street. They're running. I'm just shooting. And I see them falling and running and whatever, and I jump back in the car and tell the homies, like, "Jam, fool, let's go." Boom. And all the way through, I told them, though, instead of going back to the neighborhood and wait for them girls, I like, take me home. And, the little neighborhood belief systems are telling me, if you pee on your hands, you'll get rid of the gunpowder, put some bleach on it. So I
Crazy.
go
I've
home,
never
I
heard
wash
of
my
some shit like
clothes,
that.
I throw all my clothes in the washer, I jump in the shower, I'm peeing on my hands, I'm getting bleach, I'm like
ammonia,
I'm trying to get rid of the gunpowder and stuff. And I do all of that, and it's still early. It's like 2:30 by this time. And I told the homies, go get rid of the truck. Like, there was this spot that we used to go take our G rides and gas them up, go burn them down, And they're like, all right, we're gone. And the whole time I'm still thinking about these girls. I'm not concerned about my two homies, but these girls, I'm like, damn, man, damn. Because
As far as like knowing that you probably shouldn't have done something with people, those girls, knowing that girls tend to tell or whatever.
High key, that's what I was
they don't
thinking,
live
too.
by our street
And
values.
yeah.
You don't expect them to live by our
100%,
street values.
100%, yeah.
It's not like, don't say anything. You got to literally like threaten them. You better not
Yeah,
say
yeah.
nothing. But I didn't even have time for all that. I looked back at them and told them, hey, like, you guys don't know nothing.
Didn't see nothing.
I didn't know their names. I didn't know nothing. That was my first time seeing these girls. And I'm like, dang. So they take me home. They drop me off back in the east side, right? And I jump in the shower, everything. And then at this time, I jump on the bike. I jump on my bike, regular bike. And I drive to the neighborhood. I'm riding my bike to the neighborhood. I get there, and there's homies there in the garage still. And I'm like, hey, where's the homies at? And they were like, they're not here since you guys left. What happened? So I give them the rundown, like, kind of, not too much, but I'm like, hey, something happened over there on the other side of town. You know what I mean? Just keep an eye out just in case they come back or whatever. We don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just telling them, just keep point, something may happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we didn't have cell phones. I had a beeper, but the two homies that were there, they didn't have beepers, so there was no way of getting a hold of them. So I'm like, man, where are these fools at? And my
Different
neighborhood,
times, huh?
my
Different
That is crazy
neighborhood,
because you really cannot tell where
Different times.
somebody's
Yeah,
at.
there's no, hey,
You
where
don't
you guys
know.
at? Nothing.
Yeah.
There's no
That's
phones.
nuts.
So my neighborhood is right by industry sheriffs, right? My neighborhood is close by there. And by the time I get back to the neighborhood, it's like 3:30ish or whatever, and I'm there in the garage, and I'm just waiting for my homies to come back, right? They're not coming back. It's already starting to get dark now. It's already getting dark. It's already dark, and I'm like, where are these fools at? And all of a sudden, we start hearing the cops just flying. Woo, 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 woo. You could see them like from where we kick back at. There's this street called Unruh, and you could see the cops flying. They're going towards the direction of where we
guys
got
were at,
busy
yeah.
earlier. And I was like, where are they going, man? And we had police scanners. I was like, you didn't pick up nothing on the scanners? And they were like, nah, they ain't said nothing. Then something came up about high-speed chase or whatever. I was like, did they identify the car? What's the car look like? What did they say the car? And they were like, no, they just said they were in pursuit of a stolen car or something.
Right.
So I was like, nah, that can't be them, because I told them to get rid of this like hours ago. It's already like 5 hours later. That car should already be up in smoke. Fire department should still be there putting it out or whatever. But come to find out, my homie that was driving, he's running all sweaty. He was like, yeah, we had high-speed chase with the cops. We crashed. They got the homie and his girl. One of the girls they had dropped off already, but one of the girls got busted. So I was like, oh,
Man,
shoot.
your heart
Like,
dropped,
what the heck? So I leave the neighborhood. I go back home. I'm already packing a backpack. I'm telling my mom, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to go to my sister's. My older sister, she lived in El Monte. And I was like, she's like low radar. She's low key out there. So I'm like, I'm going to go out there with her for a couple days until I find out what's going on. And then I get a phone call on my house phone from my homeboy's little brother telling me, yeah, my brother's busted. My brother got arrested, but my mom and dad are going to go pick him up. I'm like, they're going to go pick him up. They're letting him go? He said, yeah, I think they got him for a stolen car. So I'm like, stolen car? Like, they didn't mention. Like, I'm not saying anything to the little brother. They didn't mention nothing about the shooting or nothing or anything. They're like, nah, it's a stolen car, whatever.
Right.
I said, hey, tell your brother to call over here when he comes, So I'm thinking, like, did they just get him for the GTA? Like, they didn't even question him? Like, whatever. So later on, the homie called. I ended up staying there. I didn't go to my sister's house. I stay there. So he calls me and he said, yeah, man, I'm going to have to go to court for the stolen truck or whatever. And I was like, what about the girl? He said, yeah, she got arrested too, but she ain't saying nothing. Like, she's good. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, what did you tell her? Like, nah, when we were driving around, I said, what were you doing driving around still, Like, they never got rid of the car. And I'm like, what were you, like,
Yeah.
were you on a date with these girls right after we did something like that? What? Like, it didn't make no sense, right? So anyways, like 2 weeks go by. And I'm in the neighborhood and back then the cops used to always like roll up on us and make us take off our shirts, take pictures of us, all kinds of stuff. And they didn't take me in. So I figured, nah, they must not have nothing on me.
How long ago was this? From that moment? It
Yeah,
had been a
from
couple
that
days, or
day,
it was
from the
same day?
19th, from January 19th, for the next 2 weeks, I was just out on the streets like nothing.
And they would stop you.
They would
let
stop
you
me and
go.
everything
You're
and
still
never
good.
hinted towards nothing. Never
So
hinted
you're
towards anything.
thinking, I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. I'm
good.
straight. I got him.
good.
Yeah, I'm like, because things like that always happen. I mean, for real, it's like people come and shoot at us and things happen. And, it's like we don't know who it was.
Yeah.
We don't know. We were in the garage. Somebody just drove by, shot, and, and good luck with your case. You know what I mean? I mean, them are the
And
street.
no word from their side either. From that,
Nothing.
from that side.
Nothing's happening. I mean, we were banging with them. No, they did come back. There was like interaction.
But no street word, like, hey, you know what, homeboy?
No,
somebody
it was
got hit
no,
or
nothing was going. No word was coming back, and like I said, there was a lot of stuff going on from all directions. So that was just like, okay, that happened.
Got
But
you.
then there was other stuff that was
Got
still
you.
going on.
The 80s.
And then them 2 weeks later, I'm sicker than a dog, and I'm supposed to go to my continuation school. I told my mom, I'm not going to school. I'm sicker than a dog. I just had like the worst flu ever, and I'm in bed, like just laid out. And I started hearing all the dogs bark, like my dogs, my neighbor's dogs. Every dog is barking. So I peek out my blinds like a tweaker. I peek out, and I seen all the gang units pulling up, and I went to the backyard because remember my two homies live in the backyard. So I'm like, I'm gonna jump the wall. We had a ladder in the back, so I'm like, I'm gonna try to go out the back door, and there was already gunners up there on the wall, and I'm like, what do I do? I just went back in bed and I don't know what I was thinking. I just went and jumped back in bed and said, man, I'm just gonna cover up.
Yeah.
And then I hear the banging. We had a security gate and they're banging, bah, 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 like open the door, search warrant. And then my sister lets them in. They come in my room, have me at gunpoint. They start telling me, you know, what I'm being arrested for. Like, yeah, you're being arrested for 187. And they're running these different numbers on me that I don't know at the time, you know. So they end up taking me and I'm still thinking like, man, these fools don't got nothing on me. They'll let me go. And they're like, all right, we're going to transport you now. You're going to Los Padrinos. So that was my first time going to Los Padrinos. And the crazy thing is, my homie went with me and everything. The driver homie, the other homie didn't come. And we were both questioning, where's he at? Where's the homie at? And they were like, I don't know. And right there was when the flag started going off in our heads, like what the
That's the
heck?
homie with the girl, right? The one that
Yeah,
had
with the girl. Yeah. So me and the other homie, the driver, we're like going through juvenile hall. We're going to court and everything for almost a whole year. We were fighting it. And then when we went to, we were in adult court at this time. They moved us from Los Padrinos to East Lake when we got tried as adults. And then when we were in adult court and we were going through the preliminary hearings is when they needed the character. By this time, we already have paperwork on my other homie, though.
On your boy.
Yeah, it's already there. Everything he said, we had it in black and white, what he said. And we end up going to court and everything. And so when they were calling all the witnesses in, he didn't show up. So they had to release us. We had a DA reject after a year. And, you know, I'm not familiar with a DA reject. I don't know what an acquittal is. I don't know what any of these stuff are. All we knew is we were going home. And we went home and it was like the next day we were right back in the mix again. Me and my crime partner.
Damn.
And remember I told you my mom, within that year from 16 to 17, I had stretched. So my mom was like, I told my mom, none of my clothes fit me. So right away, she takes me and buys me brand new khakis, Ben Davis, brand new pea hat.
Back at it.
Beanie. She got me the whole wardrobe, you know what I mean? And it was right before Thanksgiving. So she hooked me up. And from there, we were right back on the scene, you know what I mean? Like doing what we were doing. And I was looking at him like, dang, we just got off the hook, you know what I mean? Like,
So the official charge that you guys got on the hook for was a 187.
it was conspiracy. It was conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murders.
Damn. So
Yeah, and later on, I mean, even in there, we ended up having intimidating witnesses. One of my other homeboys shot up my other homie's house, the one that was snitched. When we found out, they shot up his house, so they slapped on intimidating witnesses or threatening witnesses. I forgot what it was. It was something like that.
A crazy sentence for that.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, so we get out of juvenile hall. Me and my homie, we're back out on the streets, and it's crazy though. And I'm gonna speed it up though because what happens is, I ended up meeting one of my homegirls. Man, I get out, I hook up with one of my homegirls. You know, she's a girl with some influence. You know, other homegirls looked up to her and stuff, and you know, she comes from a hard life too, you know, and me and her, we end up really, really falling in love. And I was like, this is cool, man. Like I had told my mom, I kept on telling my mom, I'm gonna do good. I don't know how many times I told my mom, I'm gonna do good, mom. I'm gonna do good. I promise I'm gonna do good. And this time I even showed her, I like, mom, look I got this girl, we're cool. But my mom didn't even like my girl at the time because my girl was like gangstered out, you know what I mean? And this was really like one of the first homegirls. I was with other homegirls, but they weren't all homegrowed out at the time when I was with them, you know?
When you say homegrowed out, I'm thinking like the striped shirt with the hat, with the red lipstick, with the big hoops. Nah, is that it? I don't know.
Big hoops and the black things on their hands and all that. Yeah, that's
the OG look.
But late 80s, early 90s, again, I was a baby at that time, but was that the way Raza was dressing? Was that kind of normal? We didn't really have there wasn't a square style. It was like everyone was just wearing that? The Dickies and the Cortez.
Yeah, that was
and
pretty
the,
much like the cholo look, the khakis, the
So a square
Dickies.
person wouldn't wear.
No, no, square person
Oh,
wouldn't wear
really?
that.
Okay.
No,
I figured
Yeah,
just if
like
you're
little high-waisted
Hispanic, you
little
kind of
fucking-
you just rock that because that's what his.
Yeah, no, that was like the cholo get up. You know what I
Really?
mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Because
fall
we
in
had the white
love.
tee era. My fault. We
No,
had the
you're
white
good.
tee era, and everybody was rocking the white tee and jerseys, extra baggy, and you didn't really.
Jerseys,
That was like
yeah.
2000s ish for my era at least, and even like the pretty boys were rocking that, and it wasn't really like,
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Okay,
During
so
that time, we used to rock our neighborhoods with old English letters. Like everybody had like
Oh,
t-shirts,
man, so
sweater.
straight.
Like in a lot of neighborhoods, you just drive through the neighborhood, you see somebody representing their neighborhood like that. You know what I mean?
bandanas and
Yup,
everything.
all
Okay.
that.
Old school,
Yeah.
man.
Yup.
So now you're falling in love. You
Yeah,
got
I'm
a little
falling
taste
in
of love. Now you see why the homie might have done what he did because
Yeah,
of love.
like,
but,
yeah.
but
No, so but it was crazy though because even with this homegirl, I was always with a gang of homies. She was always with a gang of homegirls. It was never really like me and her alone. Little at a time, we started doing that, like just going out on our own
Yeah.
dates and stuff, and then it happened fast, man. I got her pregnant, and then
damn.
got her pregnant, and it was crazy though because we had really started talking about doing the family thing. We were talking about getting an apartment. We were talking about like I don't think we were talking about moving out of the neighborhood, but just getting an apartment. And she was working. I had even tried to get a legit job as a pizza dude, man.
Hey.
And it was funny how it happened though because it was right in our neighborhood, grand opening. They had the balloons and everything, and I told the homies, we were all outside, and I told the homies, I'm gonna go see, man, what they pay right here. Back then, minimum wage was $4.25. That's what it was.
Crazy.
And I told them, man, I'm looking for a job and stuff. And they were like, are them all your friends right there? I said, yeah, this is our neighborhood, man. You're in our neighborhood right here. And it was an Indian dude. They were
Without
Indian.
even thinking about it, you're like, yeah, this is my neighborhood. Yeah,
They were
we're,
Indian. They were Indian people. The owners, I'm talking like from India.
Yeah.
Not Native
Straight-
Americans.
straight
They were
Indian,
Indian.
yeah.
And they were like the other day, somebody robbed us. That looked like them and stuff. I said, well, listen, if you hire me, that won't happen no
No, it
more.
won't.
You're good. He said, are you sure? And he was all, could you get back the money that was? I said, I don't know about that. That's gone. You know what I mean? Like that's gone. But I said, yeah, for going forward though, I said you probably won't have no problems. And they were like, do you have a license? I said, matter of fact, I do have a license.
Oh, you just got your license. Yeah.
Yeah, it hadn't expired because it was only a year, you know what I mean? So it was still good. So it was crazy though. It was crazy though because I ended up getting like a delivery job, but I had told him, I circled the map. This is the only areas I could deliver. And he said, okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? And even some of them were like kind of still questionable, like still kind of hot zones. But I would deliver pizzas with a 38 under the pizzas, like, who's here? Okay, here's your
Nah,
pizza.
that's
Here's your pizza. And I'd have
crazy.
homeboys in the car with like a shotgun.
Like, let's go drop off this pizza.
Yeah, let's go drop off this
Hey,
pizza.
you were working. You and the homies were working. Literally.
Yeah, I watch the comments when my homies and homegirls are just people in that area when they start, seeing the video later on and read the chat. They're like, I remember I had an orange Pinto to top it off. You know what a Pinto is?
No,
You guys
what's
don't
a
even know what a
Pinto?
Pinto
Old
is.
school.
It's an old school Ford.
Metal.
It's like a little station wagon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you weren't even in no fly shit. You were in some
Yeah, I
general-
was just-
noticeable at least, like very noticeable.
Very noticeable, and it was marked. This is the same Pinto that I was gangbanging in.
Oh, okay. So
Hey,
Yeah.
no
someone could
uniform
easily-
or nothing. You're rock. You're
Did
just,
I have? No. I think I did have a uniform. I
You
think I
had a
had a
uniform?
shirt. I had a
Okay.
shirt.
At least
A
that.
shirt and a
yeah.
hat. I think they gave me, but my
But
homies were
still with-
always there.
Still with the Dickies though, or still with the
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? But I always had a homie with me, right? Because like I
Yeah.
said, the pizza place was right in the neighborhood, so there was always homies around. I'm like, if we'll get in, we're gonna go deliver this pizza, fool. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious,
Yeah,
bro.
and it was funny. They gave me like maybe 20 pizzas to take to like the city hall, the fire department, the sheriff's department. I took them out to the park and gave them to all the homies. I was like, man, I ain't gonna go take these to no cops. They
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, but I had told my mom, "Well, do good." It didn't last long, but I had intentions on wanting it to be good. You know what I mean? But yeah, that didn't last. I was like, hell no, it's getting too hot. It's getting too
So real quick, so that didn't last, but you still had a baby though on the way, or
on the way. So let me tell you. We had got married in April. My anniversary is this Saturday. Tomorrow, actually. My
hold on,
anniversary.
real quick. That's the person you're still with now.
still with now.
What? From the 80s, huh?
It's
That is
crazy. It's
crazy.
Hey,
crazy.
homie just
bro.
remembered he had
Okay.
his anniversary tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
He's fucking
Yeah,
up
the
now.
20.
He just
420.
remembered.
My birthday's on 420. And
Oh,
we
shit,
weren't
no,
even
it's
we weren't
420,
even we
huh?
weren't even addicts or nothing like it was just 420. That's when we got married, right?
That's crazy.
We all went to Las Vegas, a gang of homies, gang of homegirls, my family, her family. We all caravanned up to Vegas. We were acting fools up there. Our parents had to sign for us. We were still underage
To get married.
to
Oh,
get
man.
married. Yeah, they had to sign for us. She was 16. I was 17 still. I was getting ready to be 18. She was 16. Our birthdays, mine's in January, hers in May. You know what I mean? It's not like a big gap. You know what I'm saying? But they signed for us. We came back. We had a wedding reception back in the neighborhood. My homeboy ended up shooting my other homeboy in the stomach with the gauge, all in the middle of my wedding reception. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I had told my wife, you know, because we believe she got. Was it like in January? I think she did get pregnant, and we were expecting him in September. I think my baby's birth is supposed to be September. So I ended up 4th of July. We ended up moving out to that same sister's house I told you I was going to run to with the backpack
Monte, yeah.
in Almani. We ended up moving. My sister said, you know, why don't you take one of the rooms until you get your apartment or whatever, you know, because my niece was willing to share with my other niece or whatever. So we had a room over there, you know what I mean? And my mom thought it would be a good idea just to get away from the neighborhood. And I had got a righteous job. I was working in a little factory and trying to go legit, bro. Like, for real. God's my witness, man. I had told my dad. My dad had that talk with me, that man-to-man talk. Like, what are you going to do, man? You're going to be a dad. Are you going to grow up or are you going to keep on being a kid, you know, acting a fool in these streets, you know?
That's good.
And I told my dad, I said, you know, I'm a man up, Dad. Like, you know, I'm working. I already told you I got a job, and we're going to be moving to my sister Pat's. Her name's Pat. I'm going to move to Pat's house. She got a room for us and stuff until we save up enough money for an apartment and stuff. And we're young, man, and we're like talking like grown up stuff, man. And it's funny too because one day right after we got married, we were still at my mom's house, and we were in bed just talking, and next thing I know, you hear gunshots. I was like, is that my house? Is that Chubby's house? Gabriel's house? Like, which homeboy's house getting shot up? And you could hear it hitting the plaster on the outside of my house. I told her, just stay down. Just stay down. So after that, I went outside. I was like, you know, went to my mom's room. You guys all right? Everything's cool? They're like, yeah, was they shooting up our house? Yeah, that was our house getting shot up.
That's
you know what I
crazy.
mean? And I told her, yeah, we got to get out of here, man. You know, we got to get out of here. And so I go to Almani. We're living there for a few months. 4th of July week. It wasn't 4th of July, but 4th of July was like within the next few days. I went to visit my mom in Puente because she still lived in the neighborhood. And one of my homies that I was real tight with, he said, let's go to 7-Eleven, fool. So we go to 7-Eleven. As we're walking out, the industry sheriffs, they pull up and start asking us for ID and whatever. And I'm like, I'm doing legit. You know, I'm working. I ain't selling dope no more. I'm not strapped. Like, for real. I was like really going legit, you know. Still interacting with the homies, but not like before, you know. Especially I'm working now. I'm in Almani, so only when I'd come back to the neighborhood.
Going
So,
up, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I wasn't out there like in G rides, you know, running the streets, running amok, you know. So I go there for 4th of July weekend. We go to the 7-Eleven, walk out, industry pulls up. They ask us for IDs. I'm legit, so here you go, you know, no big thing here, boom. They have us sit on the curb and stuff, and one guy's talking to us, and the other one's over there running our names. The fool running his names come back, and he draws down on me. I'm like, well, what's up, fool?
fuck?
Like, what are you doing? He was like, yeah, there's a warrant for your arrest, you know? And I'm like, for what? And it comes back to be the old charge, which was already, this is already 91. It's almost been 2 years. Remember, I fought it for a whole year. I was out for like 9 months, got her pregnant, got married, all within that time. They refiled on me. They reopened the case.
Fuck.
So like I said earlier, I didn't know, you know, I thought we beat it, but that's not the case. When it's a DA reject, that means it's still open. They could, you know, upon further evidence, they could reopen it on you. I didn't know that until I was rearrested. So I had a paid attorney. I called my wife. The homie went and told the family, hey, they arrested him. Blah, blah. So when I finally got, so anyways, that was probably like at 8 o'clock in the evening when that happened. I'm in the holding tank. I call home first and I tell them, yeah, I don't know. They talking about, you know, I'm going to find out later, you know, whatever that means. But these are the charges they're charging me with, which was the conspiracy to murder, attempted murders and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is crazy, you know. So, anyways, at like 2 in the morning, I'm already like crashing out in the substation. The gang unit, they come and pull me out. They come and pull me out, and they're talking to me, and they're like, "Hey, Jojo, man, how you been?" I'm like, "Come on, man, miss me with that. You like trying to be my friend and stuff. Oh yeah, congratulations on your marriage, and heard you're having a
Right.
baby, you're working." And I said, "Man, forget all that, man. Why you guys sweating me for? If you know all that, you know I'm doing good. Why you sweating me for?" They're like, "It ain't us. The district attorney from Pomona Superior Court refiled on you." I said, "DA refiled on me? What do you mean refiled on me?" "Yeah, from that case from '89, that shooting." And I was like, "What? I beat that case." They're like, "No, you had a DA reject." I'm in my head thinking I beat that case. They let me go,
Yeah.
I didn't beat it. I never went through trial. I never had an acquittal. It was just a DA reject. So now they had new evidence supposedly, and here I go all over again. Um, what happened then? Was I 18
Well,
already? Did I go back to the county or did I go to? I'm trying to remember.
what was it they got on you that you know? Do you know?
It was the same case from before.
But like, what?
Oh, my witness. Oh. So this is what happened. So right away, my lawyer was like, since we already went through all of this, do you want to have a speeding trial? A speeding trial means within 90 days, we have to pick jury. Within 90 days.
That's scary.
According to your civil law, do you want to go through this since we've already been through it? I said, yeah, I want to be out here for my baby. She's pregnant and stuff, man. I
Yeah.
just got married. I have a job. Yeah, I want to get back on the streets. So yeah, let's have a speeding trial. So we filed for a speeding trial. So when you're starting trial, you do what's called a motion for discovery, where you find out all the DA's
what they
evidence,
got and all
what they have on you. So come to find out, my crime partner originally, he had left to Mexico. The story is he had been hiding in Mexico. He comes back over here this side. He's out somewhere, out in the IE somewhere. I think Corona or somewhere. He starts a little clique over there. Not us. Remember, he came from LA as a gang member,
Oh,
ended up getting in our neighborhood. Now he's out over here starting another
new
neighborhood.
thing.
But rumor is, he started a clique from his original neighborhood from LA out there in the IE, right? Corona somewhere. He gets busted. When he gets busted, there's a warrant for his arrest for not showing up to court. They had charged him originally for everything that happened, a year of probation and gang terrorism in order to testify against us. He violated that agreement and took off. So there was a warrant for his arrest too. When he got busted, it came up. So when he talked to the DA said, "You know what? We're still willing to work with you." That was the new evidence that they had him.
And their eyes probably lit up at that. Like, okay, we're gonna get this dude now to finally sit here and testify. That's like,
So when
best
that
case scenario
happened
for
though,
him.
I truly felt in my heart though, I was relieved when I found out he was the new evidence. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. He ain't going to testify. That fool's gangster. That fool, like, he knows what's up. He's not going to do this. Like, heck no." So anyways, I said, "Yeah, proceed. Let's go. Full speed. Let's do this trial." So we go to trial, right? We're picking the jury, everything, man. I mean, everything was set. I had got my nice clothes. I wasn't going to my county blues. I was in the county. Actually, I did go back to the county. I was 17, but because I was tried as an adult, I never knew this.
Oh, you're going
when you're
to-
tried as an adult, the minute you're tried as an adult, I don't care if you get busted for GTA, stealing candy, whatever you get caught for, you're now going to be tried as an adult, regardless of the crime.
Right.
Once you're found fit to be tried as an adult, every other case after that will be tried as an
I
adult.
didn't know that. Okay, that's important too, man. That
Yeah,
sucks, huh?
most of the time you get tried as an adult, you don't usually beat it too
It's
much.
for a
but
reason.
yeah.
It's for a big case.
So, anyways, I'm going through trial and everything. We start trial. All the people from that other side of the neighborhood, they come and all of them say, "That's not him. That's not him. That's not him." I'm like, cool. Everybody saying it's not me. The girl that was in the car, she pleads the fifth. Since she was a part of it, she pled the fifth. She was able to plead the fifth, so nothing would be held against her, right? And they were mad because she said some things that she shouldn't have said, you know what I mean? But at that point in time in trial, she didn't say nothing. She just
And that counts for on your behalf. Like you
Yeah,
would say
well,
that.
she can't
That's what I
testify.
think, right?
Yeah.
That's not really okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, the last witness is my crime partner.
Oh man.
He comes in with green jackets, the sheriff's, the gang units. There's like 5 of them surrounding him. He's walking in and he's mad dogging me. I remember like yesterday, I didn't think he was going to show up again. I was hoping he didn't show up. But I see him and he's mad dogging me and he got his gangster walk and he's mad dogging the hell out of me. Then I'm looking at him like, what the heck? Like, why? Like, come on, fool. Like, what the heck? You know?
It's weird because you're not even about that no more. You're just like, this was like,
No,
still-
I am still about it, but
Just the fact that you're about to go on the stand and you're still trying to carry, like you're about to tell on me, and you're coming in
yeah,
here
that's what
with
was
the toughest
tripping. You know what I'm
attitude ever,
saying?
like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I still had like in my gut, like he ain't going, like he's
Yeah,
mad at
that's
me for him
understandable.
probably being caught up in all of this or whatever, which it was all about his girlfriend anyway. I was waiting for my own girl in the get-go. All of this circles around me backing you up, going in our enemy neighborhood to pick up these girls, you know what I mean? And he knew where the gun, I didn't even know there was a gun in the car in the beginning until he told me to get the gun. That was his gun. And instead of him saying, give it to me, I'll take care of this or whatever, let me show off in front of these girls or whatever, he was like,
Damn,
like,
man.
get out or whatever, right? And so anyways, long story short, I'm in trial. He gets up there. He starts crying, you know what I mean? The DA's like talking to him. He's crying. And I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. He feels bad, Like, we're brothers. He was talking about he used to spend the night at my house. I mean, my mom loved him as a son, and she did, you know what I mean? And then he starts saying, so they asked him, so why are you testifying now? And he said, because he put a hit on my mom. And I was like, what the heck? Remember I told you my homeboy ended up shooting the
Got you,
house?
yeah.
Remember I told you? And I ended up getting the intimidating witnesses chase and everything. Well, he blamed that on me. And God's my witness. I never told no. I loved his mom. I really righteously loved his mom and his family. I love that fool. You know what I mean? And I was like, dude, like, really? Like, you really believe I put a hit on your mom? Like, for reals? But homies already knew that he was, the word got out that there was paperwork on him, you know what I mean?
And that could be in anybody's hands.
Yeah,
That's not-
they did what they did, you know what I mean? I didn't tell the homies to go do anything, but homies are going to do what they do, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Damn, dude.
he starts saying that. And not only that, though, the worst part about it is he started saying stuff that happened away from that crime, started pulling up other charges where now I'm getting
Really?
ready to start a new case on some new stuff.
That's
And I'm
fucking
like,
nuts.
this is crazy. So not only did he tell on that situation, he started bringing up other situations. And I didn't know why he was doing that. But come to find out, though, that's how they proved the conspiracy. Because in order to prove conspiracy, it's not easy to charge you on a conspiracy case. They have to have what's called overacts, meaning like times, dates, like we plan to go at this time, this person, to prove the conspiracy. The way I told you is exactly the way it happened. Picked up these girls, we were driving off, they were there. We didn't, I didn't,
didn't conspire.
I didn't
Yeah.
plan none of that. It happened. I would never do that with them girls. And it happened, and I regretted it when it happened. But
Damn.
like I said, it happened that quick from picking them up, driving off, homie telling me, yeah, the other day we chased some fools right here. I was like, where? Where the garage doors open. Bam, we passed by there. They are, and did the whole circle. And it is what it is. So based on his testimony, the jury ended up coming back a couple of days later, guilty on all charges. And then I ended up going to YA off of that because I was a juvenile when I committed my case. They offered the YA option, but in order to go to YA, they wanted to see if I was suitable for a YA conviction, which if I would have been, I would have got out at 25. But they ended up saying that I was ready for prison, so they gave me what was called an M number. An M number would go to the youth authority until they're 25 and then go right across the street to prison and finish off the rest of your term, right? So that's what ended up happening to me. I ended up doing that.
How old were you when you got sentenced for that?
I was 18 now. Committed
you're
my crime
18, okay.
16 when I was
18,
finally
yeah.
went through trial. Hey, trip off this. Remember my wife's pregnant.
Right.
The day the jury came back with their verdict, my wife gave birth, bro.
That same day.
Man.
Same day.
Fuck.
Crazy.
Bitter sweet, huh?
It was crazy because, I had just got found guilty. I'm still in court. They're telling me, yeah, she's going into labor later on that evening before I get back to the county jail. When I got to the jail, when we would come back from court, especially trial, I was in the trial module in the county jail at that time. They used to take us to the roof at nighttime to use the phones. You know what I mean? Like we had certain little privileges that regular general population didn't have it when we're on trial module because we weren't there for laundry. We weren't there for store. We were in court all day for like a month at a time. You know what I mean? So so I went to the roof and I called home and they were like, "Hold on, I'm gonna call the hospital on three-way. She's having the baby right now, you know?" And or she had the baby. She had the baby. So when I called her, my wife was already like she was all doped up still. She didn't know what was happening. But my sisters were crying because they had heard about what happened earlier in
Yeah.
court. So
Man.
it was crazy, man. It was crazy. So yeah, but
Like a whole life is coming into this world, but
Yeah.
yet your life has been taken away. It's crazy concept.
yeah, yeah, it is. But you know what? I'll share this part, and this is very important in my story, and this is my main reasons for sharing my story because in between that time, not during my trial, but was it after it? Yeah, a little bit after it. While I was waiting to get sentenced, I didn't get sentenced till almost, I want to say probably like 9 months later. 9 months later, after I was found guilty, because the first time I went to YA was on you go for like a 90-day observation. During that first 3 months observation, I was there waiting to see when you go, you're seeing all these different therapists and psychologists and all these different people so they could give a report back to the judge and say, you know what, he needs to stay in the youth authority. He's not ready to go to prison, right? But they never saw me, so they took me back to court, and the judge is like, "Where's the report at?" They were like, there was never one done on him. So they said, "Send him back. We need the report." So I ended up going back for another 3 months.
Damn,
Right.
what?
So when I came back to the county jail, I had to wait for like 2 weeks before I went to court or whatever. So it ended up it was quite a while before I was finally sentenced. But during that time, though, something miraculous happened in my life that transformed the trajectory of my life forever. I ended up going back into the county jail, and at this time, remember, before I got busted, I told you I was trying to do the right thing. I was trying to be a husband, trying to be a father, trying to, be a citizen, work, pay my taxes, all that stuff. And when I got to the county jail, of course, I get back in the program, but I'm trying to like not volunteer, not trying to act like a fool because I'm thinking I'm gonna beat this case again. So I'm like, I'm still getting with the program, but I ain't raising my hand. I ain't trying to be out there. I ain't just trying to be all that at that given time. I'm like, I'll do what I have to do,
Yeah.
If something arises, then I'll take
Yeah,
care of it,
yeah.
right? I still got to do what I got to do, But I was like trying to lay low, like, and not volunteer at that specific time. But when I did get found guilty, that's when the old me just came full force. I was like, I'm done with my wife. I'm not going to be. I already knew. When I was found guilty, I hadn't even been sentenced yet, but I already knew I was going to get stretched. I knew I was done. You know what I mean?
What'd you get found guilty of?
Conspiracy to murder, like 5 attempted murders,
So that's
intimidating
real
witnesses.
time, real big time for everything.
Well,
pretty
yeah,
much.
eventually I would get the 45 years to life plus the
Oh,
15-year
man.
gang enhancement on top of that. So while I was there in the county jail, I like just went right back full force into that gang mentality. Started raising my hand for a lot of things that needed to be done. I was like, I had a lot of anger in me at the time about my homie, my crimey. So I was like taking it out on everybody else and just acting a fool in the county jail and stuff. And so, anyways, I was in Wayside at the time. I was in Medium North. I was in Module B to be exact. And some paperwork came up that there was a snitch there from West LA. And me and these other two homies, we went and we blasted them and stuff. And I got identified as one of the perpetrators in the attack. So we go to Sergeant's Court in LA County Jail. You go through what's called Sergeant's Court, and then they wait to see if the DA is going to pick it up. Most of the time, when they know you're doing life, they ain't even going to waste their time with a jailhouse stabbing, right? Unless it's like a capital punishment case, right? So, anyways, the DA didn't refile. I was sentenced to like 142 days or something like. It was like 142 days in the hole, according to Sergeant's Court, right? So while I was in the hole, I'm by myself. I ended up finding a Bible tract. It's a little paper, like a little godly message. And I opened that up and I read it and it talked about the love of God and stuff. And I got mad and I threw it away. I didn't throw it away. I actually just threw it in the corner of the room and I just like laid there. And something happened that day where I had I like to call it my moment of clarity or my spiritual awakening or just my encounter with self and with God, because I started processing my life and all the bad things I did, and I was like, this is the rest of my life. Like, it hit me. It hit me like, this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. Like, started thinking about my mom's gonna die, my dad's gonna die, my baby mom is gonna find a new homie to raise my kid, and
Crazy, yeah.
just started thinking about the realities of my life. And I cussed out God. I started blaming him for a lot of different things in my life. I had a lot of anger towards God because of something that happened years back. I had a 4-year-old nephew that died, and I blame God for that. You know, I blame God for that accident with him, because I was telling God, I'm the one out here gang banging and doing all this. Why didn't you kill me? Why you got to kill an innocent, boy? He's only 4 years old. 3 years old, about to be 4 years old. It was nasty though. It was right before Christmas. His birthday and Christmas are right by each other. So he had birthday presents and Christmas presents under the tree when he died. And I remember my dad like kicking the tree, kicking the presents, like just wigged out my dad. And I remember just like my house was so depressing. My mom, my sister was crying. And that's like forced me out to the streets even more. And I had a lot of anger. And at this point, I brung up that moment to God, and I got angry all over. And what happened is I ended up asking God for forgiveness. Not that night. That night I went to sleep angry at God, but in the morning I was like, you know what, God, man, if you're real, you need to change this heart. And a simple prayer like that ends up leading to a whole lot of other stuff. Because when I ended up finishing that 145 days in the whole time, they took me right back to the same module, different dorm. I think I was in module 3, but I was in dorm B. And when I committed the assault, I was in A. So they just moved me across. And as soon as I got there, the homies were already identifying my next victim. They were already, because that's kind of the role I took on, you know what I mean? And they're already giving me an ice pick and telling me, yeah, this fool gotta go. You know what I mean? I just barely came. I hadn't even laid out my bed yet. And I said, all right, man, you know what I mean? Like, we'll talk about it later. Let me take a shower. So while I'm in the shower at Medium North, the showers are low, where you could look out the window. There's a window, and then there's a little wall in Medium North. So you could see all the activity while you're showering. And I saw all the cops coming in, a bunch of cops coming in. And they go get that guy that I'm supposed to hit, right? And I look up, and I was like, God, was that you? Like, did you really hear my prayers? Like, you're removing this dude, you know? And I really give God, that's I believe one of my first answered prayers, just in helping me change my heart. And the next thing is the homies that told me, hey, we're going to move your bed, because I was in a section where there was nothing but blacks, right? And they were like, we're going to move you out of there. We're going to put you over here where the homies are. Tomorrow, when the other cop comes in, we'll move you. But just hang in there for the night, you know what I mean? Just be cool, And I was like, all right. They said, the only thing is, you're going to bunk up with this homie that's a Christian. And I was like, what? And I really didn't think much about it.
That's nuts.
I didn't really think much about it, but I was like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy.
Serendipity, man.
So I end up going to this bunk. I'm on the top bunk. He's on the bottom bunk. He's a YA baby too. He's swole. I mean, YA, they used to get big in there. They had weights, they had big food. And this dude was big, you know what I mean? He was from Inglewood. We really didn't talk. We really didn't talk at all. But one day I ended up getting a bad phone call. I called my wife, because at first I was denying all my visits from my wife, from my mom. I didn't want nothing to do with the outside world no more. I was like, I'm done with them. But I decided to call home, and she told me that one of my good, righteous homies had been killed. And I started banging the phone. I was pissed off, and I was like, nah, man, nah. And I'm on my bed, and this guy, his name's Gabriel, my bunkie, he comes and he tells me, he's the only one that's going to get that rage out of your life is the Lord Jesus Christ. And I jump off my bed. I'm like, man, you don't even know me, man. How you going to start preaching to me, man? You don't know me. You don't know what I'm about, and blah, blah, blah. And let me remind you, man, I've always been kind of small. You know what I mean? And this fool's big. I'm like, man, this fool could smash me at any given moment. I'm like over here talking crazy, but yet I'm still thinking like, I have all the homies on my side. This dude's a Christian. You know what I mean? Like, I refuse to let this fool talk crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
But we ended up staying up late that night, and one thing led to another. And he asked me, if I was to die tonight, where would I spend eternity? And I told him in heaven. I believe in God. I'm not some Satan worshiper or somewhere I deserve to go to hell. And he started telling me, "No, that's not true. You know, you need to be born again." I didn't know what that meant. He starts sharing some scriptures with me, and he said, "Do you believe that Jesus died for your sins?" And I'm like, "I think so." I mean, I kind of grew up a Catholic, kind of. You know, what I mean, I kind of knew some things about Jesus and him dying, and the whole Easter picture came into my head. Yeah, I believe he died
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. I believe like he rose or whatever. He said, "Do you really believe that in your heart?" He said, "Yeah." Then he said, if you confess it with your mouth, then you'll be born again. You'll be saved. And I didn't even know what any of that stuff was. But I said the prayer with them. And the next day, no joke, no joke. The next day, it felt like my heart had really been forgiven. Like, it felt like a burden had come off me. That was the first night that I believe I took off my shoes and went to bed. Other than that, we used to sleep with our shoes on because in
You never
Medium
know.
North, there used to
Yeah.
be riots in the middle of the night. So we used to sleep with our shoes on. And that night I took my shoes off and I woke up early the next day and I just had a different picture of everybody and it was crazy. So speed that up for the next like 12 years. I was serving God, through my YA theme, and YA was crazy. Why? And I knew though, I already knew like going to YA, and even the homies like, don't go to YA. They were like, don't go to YA. Go over there, take off on somebody. Go so you go to prison because when you go to YA, it's a whole
Crazy.
different thing over there.
Yeah.
You're gonna go gangbang. They're not gonna care you a Christian or not. They're gonna try to kill you, fool. Like for real. It's like just go to the county jail and do your time. And I mean, go to prison. You don't want to stay in YA. And I was like, I'm gonna let the cards just play out whichever way they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just gonna go take off on somebody. I'm not trying to hurt nobody no more. So I end up going to YA. I like it. I end up, meeting a lot of cool people from all over the place. Remember in Los Padrinos, I met everybody from the harbor area, from South Central, from, South
Diversity,
LA,
yeah.
everywhere there. When I went to East Lake, I met everybody from East Los, West Los, all that. Now in YA, I'm meeting people from San Diego, from San Bernardino, from Ventura, from
yeah.
all Southern California neighborhoods now. It's different now. And yeah, so I go to YA, man, and I hold my ground that I'm a Christian, it is what it is. And I've always been the type, I have always given my enemies opportunities because I understood, like, you know what, this is me changing. I don't expect nobody else to change because I'm changing. I understand you still got to get down with your enemy. So I never just went about and told anybody I'm Christian, this and that. I always identified myself, I'm a boxer from Puente, I'm a Christian now. You could do what you want though, And I would tell somebody, if you need to get something off your chest, I'm right here. We could, handle it, and I'll still and no animosity towards you. Do what you got to do. I understand the rules. You got to do what you got to do. You come with your enemy. You have 24 hours to get off with them. Here I am. But by the grace of God, though, I didn't have that encounter. I actually had favor with my enemies. It's like crazy where. I had learned though, and I give all glory to God, bro. I don't mean to get all spiritual with it, but God had my back everywhere I went, where I didn't have to hurt nobody and nobody had to hurt me. I knew how to navigate around everybody's politics, whether it's black, white, Mexican, whatever. I knew how to mind my own business. I knew how to turn my head when things were going down. So I never was, in that situation. I learned that a long time ago. When something's going down, not to be matichi, not to be
Yeah.
right there like, oh, what's happening? Because now you're an eyewitness. Now your name's like right there, like who saw what. You know what I mean? So I always knew if something's happening, hey, that's their business. I walk away and get away as soon as possible. So when it does happen, I'm not in that mix. And you know what? For the rest of my time in prison, and it's my story's crazy, bro.
Real quick, Jojo. You were in the county when they sentenced you. You go back to YA because you were too young to do the
Yeah,
whole
I
sentence?
would go to YA as an M number till I was 25 years old.
That's crazy because that's
Got you.
grown
So that
out
ended
there.
up being implemented, and you do it all the way to 25, and then you still had a big chunk left.
Yeah. I mean, that's when
Or
your
you
real
still
life
had
sentence
life at
starts.
that
Yeah,
point.
that's when your life starts. Yeah, and at that
Okay.
time, no lifers were going home. No
This
one.
was what? Probably at this time, what, 96, 95, 90s?
Well, when I went to YA, it was barely 92.
Okay, damn.
Yeah.
And then you ended. So YA, you would say you just did your time. It wasn't really no headaches, no bumps. Still with the
Nah.
life sentence?
Yeah, still had the life sentence.
Still with the life sentence.
Yeah.
So then once you go to prison, what ends up happening there, and how do you even get out of that situation, a life sentence?
So let me let me explain, because this is so every year, every 3 years, you go for what's called documentation hearings. They're called doc reviews, where they just they just see what your program's been like, right?
Okay.
If this happens before you actually go before the Board of Prison Terms. You don't go to the Board of Prison Terms until you actually are qualified for parole release, right? Because of the matrix system, lifers, after so many years, you'll start going before the Board of Prison Terms for consideration of parole, right? Even during this time, Pete Wilson and Greg Davis, which were like the governors during the 90s, early 2000s, I mean, that was their big political spiel that no lifer will ever go home unless it's in a box. That was their spiel. I mean, every lifer knew that. And there was no lifers going home. No one. Nobody was even being found suitable for parole at that time. So every time I went to my board hearings, once I qualified. So, man, my story is so long, bro, and I don't want to take up all your time, but I ended up getting stuff reduced. In 94, I ended up going back to LA County on appeals. Remember I told you they were just trying to railroad me, man. They were just trying to throw all kinds of stuff at me, which they couldn't eventually prove. They violated like a lot of things in my trial, and I wouldn't have known any of this, but the appeals court does know. So it went before the Supreme Court, which they found in my favor that they messed up on the gang enhancement first. I think it was the gang enhancement that got dropped first, because they used crimes after they used my homies' crimes, because the way they put the gang enhancement is they use other homies' crimes to place it as a gang injunction. That's the way they
part
prove.
of this whole thing that they're doing. He's part of that. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So they used crimes after my case, right? And they couldn't do that. They had to use crimes before my case. How they messed that up, I don't know, but that worked out in my favor. So I got that dropped. And then you remember I told you about the conspiracy charges, how you have to have these overacts.
Hard,
You have to have time, dates, plans, maps, recordings. You have to have like some sort of physical evidence against you that you did conspire, right? So they're called overacts. That's what they call them. So what happens is they couldn't prove any of that based on my homie's testimony that there was overacts, because of what the way he worded it, it wasn't making sense. So I ended up getting the whole conspiracy dropped, which was life by itself anyway.
Charge, the biggest charge.
One of the biggest charges, right? So after all that happened, I ended up with 25 to life. This was 94, 95. 94 was the gang enhancement. 95 was a conspiracy, right?
And real quick, just to touch, that year was a horrible year for any type of prison reform, law reform, justice reform. That's when Hillary Clinton came out, and they came out with the whole, you guys are monsters, and the whole 3 strikes.
Oh yeah, that's when the 3 strikes was coming out.
Nuts to hear that.
I think it was 94 exactly. Yeah,
so like,
94.
It's nuts to hear that something came about it, or they were willing to work with people. You know what I mean?
Well, I was already in the higher courts by now. I was in the higher courts.
You knew what you were, or you had
no. I had
in it.
And I had a state appointed in the earlier stages of my appeals. So I ended up coming back, like I said, once the 15-year gang enhancement got dropped down, which I still had the 25 to life. Oh, no, it was 30 to life at this time, right? Because they gave me the 5-year. They gave me a 5-year enhancement for the gun. It was 25 to life, plus a 5-year gun enhancement, plus a 15-year gang enhancement. So they started dropping them. So what happens is I ended up at the end of the day, after everything happened, probably like the last appeal that came through was in 90, I want to say it was like in 96, right before I went to prison, or 97, right before I went to prison. I had got it dropped down to life plus 5. That's what they were holding me on now, life plus 5 for the attempted murders. They all added up to life.
Got you.
Right? So I'm still like, life is life though. Yeah. Life is life. But on the matrix system, it allowed me to start going before the Board of Prison Term for parole consideration. So I forgot when I first went before. I think it was probably 98. I think 98 I ended up going before the Board of Prison Term, and they gave me 3 years, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Yeah, they gave me a 3-year denial. They're like, we want you to do more self-help groups, whatever. I had already went through college. I became a certified carpenter. I was
In those years, huh? They had those type of
well in the
programming
youth
going on, huh?
authority. They did the
In the
youth training
youth
school.
authority,
Yeah,
right,
that's where
right.
you had to go to school. You had to go to trade. All
Okay.
of that stuff. So yeah, I took advantage of all of that stuff. Got my high school diploma in YA. All that stuff. Because remember, at 16, I was only in the ninth grade when I got busted, and I never really went back to
Right.
school. So all my credits came from Los Padrinos and juvenile hall, and then eventually YA, where I ended up graduating. So, anyways, I end up getting my first my first actual board hearing. They gave me a 3-year denial, and then when I went again after them 3 years, they had I had went and I was bitter, man. My wife, by the way, she was by me the whole time.
Nice.
The whole time she was by me. When I was in YA, I was in Chino, which is only like 20 minutes from La Puente. So I got to see my son as he was growing up for his
Nice.
first 4 or 5 years, like first 5 years, I think.
That's
While I was in
huge,
YA.
man.
Right.
Right. And then what happened from there, from YA, I go to that board hearing. And they end up, my wife's telling me that she's done. She's like, I'm done. She said, I'm sorry. She said, don't have to deal with some other guy. I'm just done of being harassed by the cops. I'm done like
I get that,
traveling
yeah.
and uh
It's a headache for
that's
them, you know,
rough.
for the families. That's the impact that we leave on the families. when people,
yeah.
you know.
She's like just tired. She's stressed out. You know what I mean? At that time we didn't have free collect calls, so I was running up bills on collect call. She wasn't a writer. Just for the record, my wife never wrote me. She would
Gotcha.
like call home. Like, I don't want to write. Just call home. You ain't getting no love letter from me. Just call home and we'll talk, And plus, you talk to your son. So she tells me, though, I'm done. If you don't come home, I'm done. Nothing against you. I'm just tired of this. So I went into board stressed out for reals. I went in there and I told the board members, you know what? Let's don't play games, man. Just give me my denial. Let me get back to the yard. I don't want to hear this, man. Every time we go in there, they bring up everything that's ever been on your arrest record. They bring it up, even if you weren't even found guilty for it. All them times driving my mom's cars,
No license.
They
everything,
bring all that back, huh?
everything they bring up to build up that you're antisocial, you're a menace to society, you don't deserve to go home. They use everything. So I was like, I ain't trying to hear all that. Just send me back to the yard. And you know what's crazy? I was expecting a 3-year denial. They gave me a 1-year denial. And they told me
Going in with that attitude,
because normally they send you
would have maxed you out.
Yeah,
that's
normally they say
crazy.
come back in 3 years. Now it's like 5-7 years. Back then it was 3, 2, or 1 that they would deny you. Right now it's 5-7. It's crazy now the way it is.
The fact that we're talking years, you're not talking months, bro. You're
Yeah,
talking
no,
about
yeah, you're talking about
years.
come back in 5 years. You know what I
Fucking
mean?
That's some people's whole prison sentences. you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
but for us back then, though, 3 years was like the max to come back. So they ended up giving me no. They gave me the 2 years from the 3 to the 2, and that's when I went in there bitter, like, man, I don't even want to be here. Come on, stop playing games. So they ended up giving me the 2-year denial, and then on my second one, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go in here humble this time. I'm not gonna like God like check my heart and be like, you know what? Why are you mad at them for? You're the one that put yourself in this position. So I said, okay, God, I'm gonna go. So when I went, when I was, I wasn't expecting. They gave me a 1-year denial, and then that next 1-year denial, when I went, they found me suitable for parole. They were like, it was crazy too when it all happened. It was like in the movies where they stamp it, where they're like, all right,
Yeah.
parole approved. Like. Your parole is approved by us. The only thing is, though, the governor has to sign off on it. And it was Greg Davis. And if you remember anything about Greg Davis, he was recalled. That's how we got Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yes.
became governor through the recall of Greg Davis. He didn't get to finish his whole term. He got kicked out, right? So during this time, too, they were talking about dismantling the board. They were talking about getting rid of the board and just giving actual parole dates, whether it was 50 years later or whatnot, but that's what they were going to do. So anyways, the governor had, I believe it's 180 days to sign off on your parole.
It's like 3 to 4 months, right?
I think it's something like that. I think
Yeah.
it's like 4 months or something. So during that time, I'm just like waiting. I'm still going to school. I'm going to college in there. I'm a mentor. I'm a part of a special program to be trained as a substance abuse counselor while being incarcerated. And it was crazy. It was crazy. Shout out to the Walden House, man. That's my family right there. And what happens is um, that last day, and everybody's waiting for this letter from the governor. The last day that he had, they call me up for legal mail. They call my name, said, yeah, come get your legal mail. So I go and get it. It's from the governor's office and everything. I open it up and it said, on behalf of the state of California, signed by the mayor, blah, 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 your parole's being revoked due to the heinous crimes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, figures. I started telling everybody. They're like, that sucks.
Were you already telling family, like, yo, I'm coming home, I'm looking, it's looking good? Like, were you telling people already or no?
I wasn't telling them because I had never seen nobody go home. So in my mind, I was like, this is,
like,
this ain't real.
It may be revoked.
This ain't real.
Yeah.
It ain't real, Even when I got the paper that said parole granted,
right,
nobody knew what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? So I called my state appointed.
Were you seeing a lot of that on the yard?
No.
A lot of approved, but
No.
not getting sent home? Not
No.
even that. So you
Not
got
even
further
that.
than your average Joe on
Yes.
the yard, huh?
Yes.
Damn, bro. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And everybody was excited on the yard. Everybody, all the lifers, everybody was excited about what was going on. And then
Because your history right now, your history in the making, technically,
yeah,
right?
everybody's standing by to see what's going to
Yeah.
happen with this case. What's going to happen, So what happens is I'm on my way to school and I show one of the professors. I was like, yeah, she worked there in the institution. I showed her, and she was all, that sucks. She was all, let's call somebody. She called San Francisco, the Walden House's headquarters, and the main person up there says, you know what, Jojo, we're going to fight the governor. We're going to get you. We're going to get you your own dream team. We're going to get some lawyers. We're going to get some people to fight the governor. And they did. They did their own psych evaluation on me.
Nice.
And they were like, we're going to get you to an embankment hearing. An embankment hearing is in Sacramento in front of all the commissioners. The commissioners are the ones they're like the powers that kind of push the governor, right?
Mhm.
So there's always a commissioner in your board hearing. So now there's 7 of them in Sacramento. I'm not allowed to go, but I'm allowed character witnesses to go on my behalf. This was August 13th of 2003. My family goes up there, my wife, my son, my chaplain from Corcoran, another pastor, and a bunch of people from the program, the Walden House program. There's probably like a total of like maybe 8-10 people. And they all have 5 minutes. They said it was so intimidating. There's a big old clock that has a 5-minute countdown.
Right.
And the moment you start saying anything that the person before you said, if you start like repeating something that the other person said, they stop it. That's it. They're done. So
shit.
they had a game plan on every single area of what they were going to say on my behalf. So they came up with the game plan and they went in there. Everybody went. And it's funny though, because I'm out on the yard. I'm playing basketball, just going through the routine. But one of the counselors there in the program kept on coming out and be like, hey, your son just testified. Your wife just testified. Oh, yeah, Vika just talked
Like live
right now.
updates, right?
Yeah, he's giving me live updates, right? And I was like, all right. So at the end, they were like, yeah, that's it. It's done. I was like, did they tell me? Like, what was the outcome? They were like, I don't know. They said because you're a lifer, they can't announce it at that moment. It will be posted in the morning or something. So I'm like, all right,
Crazy.
whatever.
Now it's 24-hour wait. It's like now you're waiting.
Yeah. So trip off of this. Night Yard closes at, what time Night Yard close? Is it 7 o'clock? I think Night Yard recalls at 7 or is that at 8? I don't know. It's like 8 o'clock or something. But the yard's already closed. Everybody's back in the buildings. It's hot as hell up in Corcoran. It's August at the time. And they call my name over the intercom to report to the program office. The program office, that's where the lieutenant, that's where the captain, that's where the sergeant, that's where all the brass is, right?
All the big
and
dogs,
the program office is out of bounds. You don't go to the program office. That's like where people usually go lock it up, go snitch, go do whatever. You don't want to go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what they calling me for the program office
Everybody
for?
looking at you
Shoot.
like, what's up
I'm
with
trying
you,
to
bro?
go over there. What they want me for? They're like, go over there. They're waiting for you. I'm like, and everybody's looking at me. I'm like, oh, hell no. What's going on here? So I go there and it's my CC1. CC1 is that's your counselor, your correctional counselor 1. That's your counselor, right? He's a white gentleman. He's all red in the face. He's hot. He's sweating. I'm like, what the heck are you doing here now? You know, they usually go home like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, what are you doing? It's already like 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? What are you doing here? He said, we need to sign your parole plans. We need to get you ready. You're going home first thing in the morning. I'm like, what the heck? They called him from home to come process my release.
Damn.
Yeah, and while I'm right there, the warden calls in and congratulates me. He said, listen, there's going to be a lot of red tape. You're the first lifer to parole. So there's going to be some red tape,
Legitimately
but
the
we're
first
going to
lifer?
get you out there. Yeah.
From Corcoran.
From Corcoran.
at that
I don't know
time.
if anybody else had got out
Elsewhere, yeah.
anywhere else, but right
That's
there,
huge,
they were like,
man.
yeah, this is your first, this is, you know, it's the first thing.
Yeah.
They're telling me there's red tape, but we're going to get you out of here in the morning. So they call, you know, I go back, I tell everybody what happened. They're all happy. You know, they're like, man, we got to throw spread. I'll be like, man, they're about to close. Everybody's about to go their cell. It's about, you know, this program is about to be done with right now. So everybody's all excited and everything. My bunkie, I'm giving away everything but my pictures and my legal paperwork, my radios, everything, my hot pots, everything. I'm like, here, fool, you can have all this stuff, man. I'm going home. And everybody like tripped out. So early in the morning when they call people to, you know, transpack their stuff, you know, get ready. You're going to R&R right now. Get your stuff ready. They didn't call my name, and everybody's like, don't trip. Maybe, you know, they said there was going to be red tape. Just be cool, you know? And I was like, man, I bet you they scratched it, man. I'm not going home. They were like, nah, you're going home. You're going home. So the Walden House, like I said, it's a program within the prison. It's a substance abuse program, behavioral modification program. They have what's called a going home ceremony. So they like put rows. It's like a little assembly. All the inmates sit there, and then you're like in the hot seat, and people come up and like, hey, Jojo, I want to thank you for being my mentor, for helping me change, and you know, whatever. They come up and say, good luck, man. You deserve to go home. And everybody's coming up time. And as they're talking over the intercom, they're like, hey, Godinez, that's my last name. Pack your stuff. You're going to R&R. And everybody starts clapping. It's like a movie, bro. And for reals, it was so crazy because everybody there, they were happy for me. You know what I mean? I mean, just everybody, all races. And the crazy thing is, though, like for the ceremony, they were letting in people from other buildings to come and, you know, give their respects and stuff. And as I was leaving, God honest truth, it was crazy because everybody was lined up from like my building to the gate to R&R, just shaking my hand, giving me hugs, like, man, you know, just giving me love.
That's crazy.
Man.
You're like that savior, bro. You're like that. Like
I was like that hope. I was that
hope.
hope. You know what I mean? I was that hope for people. And like I said, you know, I was a Christian, so I got along with everybody, and everybody was giving me mad props as I was leaving. And I was going to the program residential right here, right on Hill Street and 14. That's where I was paroling to. So the plan was there was 2 staff members from there that were going to drive me there to the Grapevine, and then I was going to meet up with my family to have lunch there, and then a counselor from the program here was going to pick me up and drive me straight into downtown LA, which happened. I got to the Grapevine, and
what year is this?
This is 2003.
Okay.
August 14th, 2003.
And after how many years?
Yeah, altogether it ended up being like 14, little change.
Fuck, I was like,
Yeah,
3 or
yeah.
4.
It was a trip though, man. It was a straight trip, and so I see my family and they're crying. You know, at this time my mom passed while I was busted, so my mom wasn't there with me.
Man. I hear that.
And it's crazy. It's straight crazy though, man. But my dad was there, my wife was there, my brother-in-law was there. Mainly my wife's side of the family was there. You know, I didn't see my sisters and them until a couple of weeks later when I got a pass from the program. But I told them, you know, I'm gonna go to this program. You know, I'll be home. I'll get a pass in like 2 weeks or whatever. But I'm home. You know, I'm home. You know. So I get to downtown LA, and there's a sign in the front that says today's the first day of the rest of your life. And I'm like tripped out, like dang. And my room overlooked the skylines of downtown. And at nighttime I'm there, and I'm just like tripped out, like dang, I'm free, like just like it's going down, you know. And then from there, you know, just had an attitude of gratitude. PV Jobs, man. That was my first job.
Yeah, we found that out as we're right here chopping it up.
Yeah, PV Jobs was my first construction job, you know, on my way about to, you know, join the union, because what it was, PV Jobs, I don't know what it's like now, but back then, you know, it was kind of like a job agency for us parolees. And we worked with union workers, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they would take us on as we graduated, you know what I'm saying? And from whatever we were getting paid, I think it was like 9 something at the time that I was getting paid an hour. It was like
That's what union wages were back in the
no,
day.
no, not union wages.
Oh,
This
not
was
even
with
that,
the
just
parolee. This
just
was like,
parolee.
remember, PB Jobs was like the job agency that put us with the union. You know what I mean? Well, it was a good opportunity though. I loved it. But my because I was on high control parole for 6 years. They ended up putting a curfew on me, and then when PB Jobs moved out of the area, I wasn't allowed to go with them no more and stuff. And I ended up becoming a counselor, drug and alcohol counselor, which was a good thing. And I ended up going home to my wife. I wasn't allowed to go back to my neighborhood. That was a part of my conditions. I couldn't go back to the neighborhood. So my wife, man, man, I can't thank God enough for my wife, you know, because remember I told you she was all stressed out, but she held on, man. She held on, and as a matter of fact, as I said, tomorrow's my anniversary. 32 years
Congrats,
married.
man. 32 years. Huh?
32
years married, man. You know, and it's crazy though. It's crazy. She ended up becoming a single mom, but she worked. She never, no offense to anybody on welfare, but she never went that way. You know, she worked 2 jobs to take care of her and my son. I think she was only like 20. I think she was like 24, 25 years old or something when she got her first house. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like
What
crazy.
did she end up jumping into, if you don't mind me asking?
That what? Say it again?
What did she end up jumping into career-wise and all that? And I'm thinking like she was from the hood too.
She was.
So she made it out of that.
She did.
Took the
She did.
responsibility and did what she had to do.
Yeah, she continued, man. And what we had planned on doing, she went full force with
She went
it. You know
full
what I mean?
force.
And she stood right there in the neighborhood for a long time. That's our house. The one she got was right in the neighborhood too. You know what I mean? But she was working 2 jobs. She's like, I'm too tired to go out and mess around, and she was just working hard. Our son was her everything, her everything. And then so when I came home, I couldn't live there, so we relocated not far from my neighborhood, but out of my neighborhood, and I started working, and I started getting into a lot of gang prevention, intervention. I go back. I'm a part of prison ministry.
Okay.
My heart always stood in the streets, bro. When I came home, I wanted to help people, and my approach is, I love people where they're at. I love homies right where they're at. And I tell them, you know what? I'm not trying to change you, but I'm just showing you there's another route. You know what I mean? If you continue this route, this is what you have to look forward to, And I never try to push up on any of them or change their values. I just present where I was from, what I went through, where I'm at, and where I'm trying to get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I told him, believe me, man, I'd rather wake up every day next to my beautiful wife than some smelly Sally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love my freedom, man. I love being able to go to my refrigerator and have choices. Do I want milk? Do I want a soda? Do I want juice? When I'm cooking my eggs, do I want a boiled egg, a scrambled egg, over easy egg? Like, I have choices today,
Yeah.
I don't gotta, I don't gotta squat and cough, I don't gotta do none of that stuff today. And life is really good, man. I've been helping families out for the last 20 years. Like right away, as soon as I came home, I started helping families of the incarcerated and addicted. Like I said, I was a drug and alcohol counselor. And that's my passion, is to help families cope with the hardship of their loved ones, because they didn't ask for that. You know what I mean? I think of my mom and what I put her through, and my dad, and I was like, you know what, man? We put our families through hell with that lifestyle, So that's what I do now, I started my own little community, online community for the families, because everybody's always wants to hear my story and stuff, but nobody wants to hear my wife's story. My wife, that's the gangster, man. She's the one that held it down, supported me and her son, and our son, I was like, I can't give her enough props, man, for, the woman that she is today, And she's a trooper, man. She's a trooper.
That's 100% right, man. To have to hold it down, be a mom, be a dad at the same time, pay the bills. And I'm sure that when you got out, you start realizing, like, holy shit, is it hard to do that?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder out here than it is to just wake up and get your bedroll, put your laundry, or order sopas, get your little list or whatever.
And you know what's crazy, bro? I don't mean to cut you off, but probably about a year in, starting to be successful, getting raises at the job and everything, I was really, I don't know what I went through, but I went through something where I actually wanted to go back to prison, bro.
Really?
Yeah, it was just the pressures of, like, because there was so much expectations on me being the first lifer, and everybody wanted to hear my story. Everybody wanted to know how I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was going to so many different programs, so many different churches, and after a while, I got tired of hearing my story. I didn't even want to hear my story. That's the purpose of me writing my book. If I didn't write, like here, you don't need to hear me say it no more. Just read it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like I went through like a lot of people were telling me you're going through survivor's guilt because I was still writing a lot of lifers and I knew, the bad stuff that I did in life, I knew I deserved my time. Even like with my homeboy testifying, I even appreciated that. I did. I At first I had a lot of animosity towards him, but later on I said, you know what? This was God's plan and purpose in preserving me for such a time as now. I have 4 kids now. I have 2 homes. I got 2 businesses. I mean, things are going, and I'm saying that not to boast, but to say that, you know what? God allowed all that suffering, all that pain and everything to preserve me for such a time as now, where I'm able to help out homies. Today, I'm able to get homies in programs. I'm able to get people, in contact with the right people, right resources to help them, get out of, some tight situations. And like I said, I still have mad love for my homies and every homies. I mean, I help out, what people would consider my enemies from before because we were from different neighborhoods. But where I stand at today, I'm in all kinds of different neighborhoods. So many different neighborhoods know me because I go there with resources. I don't go in there with the funny business. I go in there with like, hey, I'm here to help out whichever way I can. I meet them where they're at. And like I said, I'm a Christian. I'm a full ordained minister, but I don't go in there wearing a crown. You know what I mean? I don't go in
collar.
there. I'm better than everybody else. I'm still that. I'm still that homie. When people call me, I can't even shake my nickname. People call me Brother Boxer. That was my name throughout all YA. All the homies call me that. When I got to prison, I was able to shake it a little bit, but every time a homie from YA pulled up and remembered me, it would be right back on me. Oh yeah, that's Brother Box right there, man. That's a good brother right there. All right. And it's, it's the longevity, a lot of people hide behind that Bible. I'll admit it, you know what I mean? But I had a righteous conversion with the Lord Jesus Christ and my life was never the same, God gave me a heart to help my homies, instead of trying to kill people, God actually allowed me to give life to people,
There you go.
And like I said, I don't force my beliefs on anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like homies that just need help in trying to figure out how to pay child support. Come on, I'll take you to where they can help you. You know what I mean? People that want to, get a job, they're tired of doing that grimy stuff. Come on, I know people that will hire you. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And especially the families. Homies are always sending me to their family members. Hey, go talk to my mom. Go talk to my wife. Go, my dad is stressed out about this or that. Go talk to him. So I have homies out there, instead of running missions and stuff, I'm running missions to help families. And that's what I do today, man.
I love that, man. You're giving back to the community at the same time. You're helping people change lives. You're helping their families. Tell us a little bit, just real quick, about the book. How soon did you start writing that, and when did it get released?
It's a trip going back to when I got out. I was going back into the youth authority. I was going into the Norwalk SRCC, the reception center for YA. I was going in there and kind of sharing Bible study, sharing my story with the youth and stuff. And one day there was this other group of students. I think they were from Pepperdine University. I think they were from Pepperdine, and they were one of them was a journalist, and she heard my story and she said, "Do you mind if I do an article? Can we talk? And I want to do an article. I'm entering this contest, this writers contest, and I would like to, write what you shared today." I was like, "Yeah, call me and we'll talk or whatever." So she called me. She ended up winning that writing,
nice.
that writing thing. And then she said, "You know what, Jojo? Why don't you pray about letting me write your book?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "What?" So I was like, "All right," because I had thought about it. Other people had told me you should write a book, this and that, or whatever, because I was sharing my story everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're like, "You could reach so much more people if you put it in a book, and people that hear your story can pass them out or whatever, right?" So I was like, "All right," but we started it. And it took probably, I want to say like 5 years to complete. Because I kept, on my behalf though, I kept on shutting down. Every time I got to certain parts, it triggered my PTSD. It just triggered like some feelings in me where I was like, I'm done. And then when sharing your story, I mean, that book could have been this thick, but after editing and pulling out, no, don't put that. You got to take that story out. You got to do this. Anything that's going to hurt someone's character or cause some additional type of,
Trauma
feelings
or
towards
something.
somebody, or I wasn't able to talk to this family to get permission for that, so take it out, or this family told me not to mention that story, whatever. So we were pulling it out, and I kept on getting stuck on issues like that, like during the editing part and during when I would start talking about my mom, I would shut down or whatever, or just different things, and I would stop because the way we were doing it is we were doing it through like a lot of voice recordings, like a lot of voice recordings. I was just telling my story like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So the book is pretty much my words. She edited, all the periods, all the proofreading, turn it into a story, put it in chapters and whatnot. But the words in there are pretty much my words. It's
There
my
you go.
story. She just like put it into
It was
context.
literally just the one transcribing it.
Right.
onto paper.
Transcribing it, yeah, and she added some detail. I was funny because when I would tell a story or whatever, and then she's like, "Yeah, it was a cold summer night or whatever,
Adding
or
a
whatever." I was
spicy
like, "Oh,
note.
okay." She was just adding the dramatics to it. You know what I mean? So I was like, "All right, that's cool."
Feet
You
are
know what I
cold, my
mean?
toes hurt, can't move my toes.
Yeah, but it's cool though. The best part of this book is my homies all co-signed it because they all read it in prison. Other homies that are doing life and stuff, they're like, "Man, Jojo, you took us back. You were pretty, pretty detailed in it, but with enough of the story to show the picture. You know what I mean? Without going into all the details.
Real quick, I'm not a full blown person of faith, but I have faith in my heart. But I'm catching a crazy story here. It's a crazy concept. Tell me if I'm wrong because I don't know the Bible. Are you fairly comfortable with the Bible? Like
Yeah.
you full blown? Ideally, Jesus Christ had someone transcribe the Bible for him, right?
Yeah. The
Okay.
writers, the authors,
The authors, right? Or someone create the Bible. I'm not trying to say you are Jesus Christ or anything like that, but you're taking steps like it, right? But you had someone transcribe your story, your Bible. On top of that, you were Hope. You're the first person to come out of
Oh, okay.
come out
Good
on
interpretation of it.
come out on life for a life.
Yeah.
Same as like the reincarnation of Christ. Everybody saw him and it's like, oh my God, there's hope. There's a heart. There's God. I'm feeling like that same kind of story with you. You're following like these footsteps that Christ.
And I'm a carpenter.
there you go. Like you see,
God damn.
but I know it's something outrageous, but it's crazy because I see your faith is in your heart, but you kind of have this story similar to like the way the Bible explains it. It's pretty dope
Wow,
to hear that.
Shoot, the more people could see that, the better I'm doing. Then, because that's my whole attitude is to be a reflection of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And like I said, I stand on my religious principles to the fullest, but I meet people where they're at. You know what I mean? When I go to drug addicts, I don't tell them watch their language with me. I don't tell them, put that pipe away while I'm here. I meet people where they're at and I try to show them the love that was given to me in my conversion. And I tell people ask me, so many homies, over the years that asked me like, Jojo, what made you change? Or how were you able to just bring, like homies that knew me from before, like the crazy side of me, they're like, how did you just come from darkness to light, bro? Because like I said, I never hid, I mean, my name was always good, and I mean that. And, I'm sure people will co-sign in the comments, eventually that, who I am today is who I was back then. I've always tried to be a man of my word. I've always tried to be a man of integrity. I wasn't really a busybody, always trying to be like, outspoken or, trying to like just stand out amongst people. I was always in the cut, but handling my business, you know what I'm saying? And as a Christian, I do the same thing. I'll play handball with all the homies day in, day out in there, what I mean? Bust spreads with the homies and whatnot. But it's like when it's politics and everything else, I have to step away from that. I respect everything you're doing, but I'm on another side of the line, And when I decided to go that route, people of higher status than my own status had told me, going that route, you're on your own. And I said, I understand that. But at the same time, I really believe God had my back and God was with me. And, whatever happened, happened. In YA, and let me just share this story before we close out, because I know we've been going for a while. But in YA, like I said, YA is 100% gangbanging. Not like the county jail where, you get along with your enemies, totally different. Prison, You get along with your enemies. So in YA, no, there's gang wars. I mean, gang bang is 100% and some, right? And you know, the racial tension, everything's real in YA. It's like 100 times more intense in prison, right? For reals, I'm not even joking. When you think about gladiator school, that's why, especially YTS. I mean, seeing people get killed in there. I mean, chopped up.
Nuts. Yeah.
I mean, stabbed with rebar. I share one of my stories. One of my first experience in and YTS. I seen a guy get stabbed with a piece of rebar. Not like in juvenile hall, you get stabbed with a piece of a pencil or you know, get soaked up in a sock, you know what I mean? And there it was like a half-inch piece of rebar, you know, 3 feet long, getting shoved from the back, like something you would see in
Like
Gladiator
a
movie.
spear or something.
A spear, like
God
Gladiator. And because there was welding shop there, there's masonry, there's auto body. You have all the metal there.
man,
You know what I mean? It's not like prison. You have all the metals to make all the right weapons. So it was really, really violent. And I remember, I'm a Christian. I'm still a homie, you know, as far as in everybody's eyes, but I'm a Christian. And they had a church sign up. And there's Protestant and there's Catholic. God's my witness. I said, I'm not Catholic. I'm Protestant now. I'm a Christian. That's what they call Christians, Protestants, non-Catholic, right? So when I'm signing my name there to go to Christian church, all the homies came. They're like, "Hey, take your name off that and put it on the other side. You know, it's cool you go to church, but put it on the Catholic side." I said, "I'm not Catholic though. I'm Christian." They're like, "Put it on the other side, homie. You're on the wrong church." I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "That's the black church. This is the brown church." And I was like, "I'm Christian though." They're like, "Hey, homie, if you go to that church, you're gonna have every homie lined up at your door ready to smash on you." And I was like, you know, of course I'm like, "Well, smash on me then." I didn't get all crazy. I was like, you know, it is what it is, bro. You know, but I'm a Christian. I got to go to my faith. You know, I'm not going to go to someone else's faith just, you know, for the fun of it. I'm Christian.
And there's that much of a difference.
In there is.
Yeah.
In there is.
Aside from the politics, but in the scriptures, isn't it just kind of? I'm thinking like I never.
Oh,
really,
as far as Catholic Christian, you mean?
yeah, like I guess
it's
like
pretty
you're still
much
learning the word.
It's
you know,
pretty much
or-
the same. Catholics claim to be Christians. You know what I'm saying? Because we
Okay.
believe in the same Jesus Christ. Same Jesus Christ died on the cross.
You know.
It's just other traditional stuff. You know, more on the Protestant side. You know, we don't worship idols, statues.
Oh, the santos.
Yeah, we don't wear
That makes sense.
rosaries. We don't do any of that stuff. So anyways, I end up signing up and I go to church. And even on the way to church, the blacks are telling me, they're like, "Hey, SA, you in the wrong line, bro. Like you gonna get some repercussions if you come to church with us. You know, you're supposed to go to the Catholic church." And I didn't know if they were telling me they were going to get at me
Got
too.
you,
You
or
know,
your
are the blacks
people.
gonna
That's true.
be mad because I'm disrespecting them? I wasn't trying to disrespect them, but I'm like, I'm a Christian. And they even thought, though, there was a couple of blacks that asked me, they were like, "Are you from a black neighborhood? You a Crip? You a Blood?" I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm Mexican." Like, "Nah, man, you know what I mean? I'm an ex-Southsider, you know? I'm a Christian." And they were like, "Shoot, you crazy. You know that, right? You crazy." So when I came back, my bunkie, he was from Pacoima, and he tells me, "I got your back." But, you know, coming from that lifestyle, I'm already knowing he's probably the first one that's going to try to
gonna do
stab me. You know what I mean? You know, he's going to get
crazy,
my
yeah.
ticket. He got to deal with me, you know? But, man, God was with me, man. And you know what? Over a short period of time, more and more Mexicans started to come. And you know what
There
I
you
did,
go.
though? You know what I strategically did?
Hold up though. Nobody showed up though. Nobody was lined up.
No.
Nobody
Nobody.
even made it an issue. Nobody even.
Nobody. But you know what's a trip though? And like I said, God always had my back. God gave me favor. There was a homie there that had been there for a while, not from my neighborhood, but from the area, from the SGV. He was from Baldwin Park, actually. I knew him from when we were younger in juvenile hall. Remember, in '89, I knew him. And,
Oh, man.
And now
Okay, I
he had a
forget.
little bit of status there. And it was his main homeboy. His homeboy from his neighborhood is the one that specifically came up, especially because we're from the same SGV. You know what I mean? We're literally neighbors. He's the one that kind of out of respect told me, you know, I get it. You know, he was trying to help me out. But still, I was going to go to that Protestant church. So anyways, he gets a kite from the homeboy saying, "Hey, I heard the homie rode up there from Puente, man. Give him my regards. Tell him I'm going to send him over a care package." So the homie that originally told me that was like, "Hey, you know my homeboy?" I said, "Yeah, man. Me and him go way back, blah, blah, blah." Well, he said he's sending you a care package, blah, 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 and whatever. So it was then that, you know, all glory to God. It wasn't me. It wasn't my reputation. None of that. It was all God, you know, looking out for me, you know. I don't take no pride in any of that. That's all God, you know, looking out for me, you know. And what I was saying is I was able to get a lot more Southsiders to the so-called black church.
That's crazy.
Because when I would come back, because everybody and their mama knows that Victory Outreach, that's the homeboy church. Everybody knows Victory Outreach.
Yeah.
That's where the homeboys go. They're the street church, you know what I mean? That's the drug addict church. Everybody knows Victory Outreach. So I would go back and tell the homies, hey, your homeboys were there. There was Victory Outreach, man. Homegirls were there looking all fine. They were like, for real? I was like, yeah, your homeboy, man. Your older homeboy was here. Like, I'm going to go next Wednesday then. So one homeboy came and they went and told another homeboy, hey, the homies were here, man. They're with the church. They're with Victory Outreach. So more and more. And I would tell them, hey, there's some fine girls that are coming they're singing up there. So that's the way I lured everybody
crazy.
to the so-called black church, where they realize, oh, it's not a black church. They're all Mexicans that are there. So then they started understanding it's not a black church. It's a Christian church. So even then, all glory to God too. I was like the first Mexicans to start going to the black church. And all glory to God. You know, eventually it became multicultural church. It became a revival. If you guys don't know what revival means, that means the spirit was moving. We got attention from outside media that wanted to know, how is this happening in the youth authority where people are getting killed? How is it that there's this thing? And there was all kinds of homies, a lot of lifers that were getting saved. And there was a big Christian movement in YTS where it got so big. And that chapel, I think, sit like maybe 500 people. The chapel would be packed for 3 services on Sunday. So we had to take it to the football field. We took it to an auditorium because it was just so packed. There was just so many people that were getting saved and having transformation. And there was a lot of peace going on in the yard. And it was the outside media were coming in to interview us and ask us what's going on. And the crazy thing is our chaplain, his name was Wilson Banks. We had another chaplain prior, but Chaplain Banks, he was an ex-Black Panther, BGF. He had spent like 21 years in prison during the 60s and 70s, and he got saved and became our chaplain. So here we are with this gangster as our leader. He was black, but he was our leader, raising up all these lifers
and knew
to
the
be
same
men of
struggle
God.
too.
And he taught us how to be men of God, like, don't be punks. This is the house of God. Clean it up. Because when we first got to that chapel, it was all gang writing. There would be some, homosexual activity going on in the church. There would be drugs passed or whatever. But it came to a point where the Christians, the homies that were getting saved were like, nah, that stuff ain't going on in here no more. You need to do that stuff out there. And we became a force to be reckoned with. I mean, we didn't try to gangbang or nothing like that, but we made our presence felt there in the youth authority. And then we all got kicked out when one of the counselors got killed, and they kicked out every single M number. Damn. Every single person that was supposed to go to prison went to prison.
A counselor?
Yeah, one of the counselors got killed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's when prison, during 96, that's when prison was flooded with all these YA babies from all different YAs that were M numbers, meaning adult convictions.
Do you have an idea how many, more or less?
I have
Just
no idea.
1,000, 2,000? Just wondering. I would love to look at
Probably
stat.
it was probably maybe like 2,000. I would estimate.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Man. And they don't even know to let up some loose youngsters like that at the yard
everybody
at once.
was pulling up, and it's crazy. In the book, there's details about what happened because I ended up going to Palm Hall, Chino Prison, under investigation for that same murder of that staff. Because I was out working when that happened and they didn't know how she died, but it's in the book. I ended up going to the hole under investigation for that with some other people, the KPs, the cooks and stuff. There was a couple of us.
He's got a photo in here, y'all.
That's my ID. You see that, Al? Life term. That man at 4:00, your program was over.
Y'all, check it out. It's called Reformed, How a Life Sentence Became My Saving Grace. The story of Jojo
Where can we pick
Godinez.
that up?
You can
Written
find
by
it on
Amanda
Amazon,
Warner.
Barnes and Noble. It's on digital. If you have an iPhone, you could go to your Apple, your iBooks. You could download it from there, and it's it shares a lot of details about some of the stuff that I did. That's been a part of my journey. But that's for you guys, man. That's
Appreciate
I don't know.
it.
You guys
we
can
need
What
share.
a
that sign though,
nickname.
man. We need to see
I'll
that
sign
on
it.
that
I'll
one,
sign
you
it
know?
before I go, man.
What a nickname right here. Have you heard from Midget? That's crazy.
Oh, that's when we went to county jail. That's when I went back on my
Yeah.
appeal, 94.
You,
That's
you
a
didn't. I
hilarious
know you
name.
probably don't know, but the homies, a lot of the homies started with the 7 dwarf names. You know, so we're
For real?
Midget, the dopies.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
And you know what's crazy? When I went back on my appeals, it was right after the Northridge earthquake. I went to the county jail when there was
that 94?
94. Some electricity wasn't even on in the county jail at that time. Some courts weren't even running at that time.
That's nuts.
It was crazy. It was crazy
Forget about
experience.
that.
Yeah.
But
Well, Make sure y'all check his books,
Definitely
man.
check out
check
that
his
book.
stuff.
Yeah, no, Jojo, I wanted to say if you wanted to get anything out there right now, whatever, this is the time, so that way they can make sure to follow you at whatever social
yeah, they
media
could
you
follow
got
me.
going on.
So my main theme right now is something that I recently started within this new year. It's called Trapped Families, and it's a support network for the family members of the incarcerated and the addicts. So it's like us reform people. We have a platform. You find us, on any YouTube channel, somebody sharing their story about what they've been through. But what we don't hear is the family members and all the suffering that they went through. And it's crazy because a lot of times we come home with all this time to prepare and we go to these self-help groups and everything. And we come home to a dysfunctional family. A lot of people, I was fortunate. My wife ended up getting saved like I did, you know what I mean? And I was able to come home to some blessings. That's not always the case for a lot of families though. And what happens is there's a lot of inmates that come home to families that never had a chance to work on their issues. While they've been gone, they still been out here suffering from the damage that was done, to their homes, And a lot of times it's not the popular thing to share about your kid being busted. My wife, she had to keep me a secret from her co-workers and stuff for many years. She worked in the real estate industry. And, it wasn't the popular thing to go tell everybody, oh, yeah, my husband's doing life. You know what I mean? My husband was a gang member and blah, 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 And there's so many family members. I like to think of it as like kind of a secret society in itself, because
You're right.
they don't, it's not something to be proud of to talk about. I know us, we brag about what yard we were on and opening up this yard. And I was in so many riots and I did this and shoot, I was running this and running that. And, we want that, that title, you know what I'm saying? But what about our families that were, holding up the home while you were gone, that single mom, that husband, that boyfriend or whoever that was left struggling,
Right.
And I always tell my wife, I always say that my wife, man, that's my hero today because she did what I should have been doing, raising my son. My son today, he's an EMT, works in the
There you
emergency room. His plans are to be a paramedic with LA Fire County. And then my other daughter, I have one daughter that's in college right now, wants to be a business major. And I have another daughter that's in high school that's studying to be an engineer. And then my youngest, he's 12, getting ready to be 13. And, he's in Muay Thai, boxing. And
There you go.
I got good kids, man. God's blessed me. Like I was saying earlier, God, I have some things to my name today, but none of it matters more than my name, man. My name is everything. When people hear my name, I want them to know that, it isn't Boxer from old. This is Jojo that's putting himself out there to help people,
There you go.
get on the same journey. You know what I mean? I want to help people, get forward,
There you
not
go.
stay down,
100%.
So with this Trap Families, I actually started my own podcast where I bring the family members on to share their side of the story and, how they've been able to deal with it. And some of them are still in the process of, learning how to deal with their loved ones being away or being stuck in their addiction, because most parents don't sign up for that. Like my mom and dad, I told you, they were hard workers, they provided for me and my family and we never went without. And here I am putting my mom and my dad in jeopardy of drive-by shooting, my nieces, my nephews. You know what I mean? My mom would come home sometimes shaking because a carload of dudes rolled up next to her and drew down on her thinking I was in the car. You know what I mean? And it's like, my mom didn't deserve that. You know what I mean? My mom didn't deserve to have her door kicked in, have my dad, because, he was a Marine. He used to like going hunting and stuff. He had righteous guns that they took from him. He couldn't get back no more. And it all because of me,
Yeah.
And I put my family through a lot, man, a
Yeah.
lot, almost being in car accidents, driving in the fog, going up north to see
Oh,
me.
yeah, down the grapevine.
That's true.
Yeah, I put my family through hell, and here we are bragging about where we were at, and what we did, this and that, and to each their own. I mean, I guess everybody, that's the path they went, and they deserve, some recognition. I mean, that is their world, you know what I'm saying? But as far as I see it today, as a husband, as a father, our families deserve some recognition and some support,
100%.
So I try to do it the best I can. So I do some life coaching with families. I do a lot of motivational speaking, for different communities. I go into a lot of drug and rehab programs, go back into the system still when capable. I mean, prisons change radically where sometimes I'm not allowed on the yard. There's been times where I've been denied where they said I had a victim on the yard. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Damn.
it is what it is. I know I have a past, you know what I mean? But my passion is to help people. Like I said, there's always homies that are reaching out to me because they know I'm in a position to help them get something different,
Well, we love the idea of what you're doing though. That trap family stuff is a great concept. I love the idea that you're bringing their stories to life, and you're really trying to show like another way where youngsters can watch, be like, damn, that mom went through that. I don't want to put my mom through that, or I don't want to put my dad or my sisters through that. That's something I'm glad that is hopefully, and I'm in. Honestly, big kudos to the families that come out, because these families don't want to come out, and the fact that they can come in front of a camera or even do any of that.
That's the thing,
huge.
Brian. When I bring them on, there's been so many times where they're shaking, they're nervous. I said, just relax, it's cool. It's just me and you. We're just going to share, And I tell them, whatever you don't feel comfortable in, you don't got to share it. And I'm not trying to make it a big old therapeutic, Montel Williams show or something, Marvy Povich. I ain't trying to like dig into them because, like I said, they really need, at a different time we could talk about it, but not on the air, But afterwards, they feel so relieved that they've been finally able to get it out there, and it's not to throw their loved ones under the bus at all, because all of them are still supporting their loved ones, you know what I mean? But it's been hard,
They're there to help others, if anything, to share their story, help others.
So they could find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and everything's titled Trap Families.
There you
Trap
go, y'all.
Families. On
and
YouTube.
We'll get that stuff up in the description too,
sure.
so that way people could just click right away and scope it out.
Yeah, man. But I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Thank
I felt
you,
really
man.
relaxed, man. Thank you guys, man.
Yeah,
And
thank you for
appreciate your
coming.
big
story.
supporter of you guys, man.
there you
you
go.
don't even know,
Man.
but I be praying for you guys, man, for real.
Appreciate
'Cause-
it,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. And then just even hearing the fact that you went through these doors back in when we were, this guy was probably barely alive, something like that, 2000-ish.
Bro, I was
So,
barely 2
Yeah.
years old.
There you
Well,
go.
2003,
So,
I was barely like 4 years old.
That's amazing.
And
to
you
hear
know
that.
what? Let me tell you
That's
just this
going.
praise report on PV Jobs, man. PV Jobs, okay? I'm working in Marina Del Rey, a big construction project. There's like a multi-million-dollar project, Marina Del Rey. It's a nice area, right? I'm working out there, and I'm doing concrete at the time, and I'm like lifting rebar and doing the blocks, and the masons all come in, and we're pouring cement. I mean, like we're doing big cement work, and I'm sweating, and it's August. Remember, I got out in August, so it was like maybe early September when PV Jobs took me in. Like right away, right after I was done with orientation in the program, PV Jobs took me on, right? And I remember sweating like a dog, and I remember I was getting paid like 8 something. It was like chump change compared to the union workers that were getting the big checks, right? And I remember I had this homie that they were balling, these younger homies that were balling with dope. They were pushing methamphetamine big time. And like I said, I've always been in contact with my homies, all along. I've always been in contact with them. And they love me, and they were like, hey, fool, like I want to look out for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at what they're doing, man, and one of them wanted me to go on a run with him just to go drop off something. He wouldn't tell me what, but he said, I'll break you off a couple $1,000 just for going on the run. We're going to go to Vegas. And I was like, dang, I could use that money right now, whatever. But I was like, you know what? I'm legit right here, man. I'm legit right here. And I remember Ernest, man. He he ended up like I went and spoke somewhere on behalf of PV Jobs at it was at the board meetings in front of like the superintendents and all them people. And he told me too. He said, "I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get you a raise." So when he said that, I was like, "That's God talking to me that I don't need that money. That
There you
fast
go.
money is gonna come and go, and just work your way up the ladder." And sure enough, I ended up getting a raise, and it was so cool, man. And he had set me up with the journeyman to be an apprentice for the union, where I was going to go into the union and stuff. But unfortunately, I didn't go that route. I ended up going to be a counselor, and it is what it is. But man, shout out to BV Jobs for giving me my first job, man.
Yeah.
First job coming
BV
home.
Jobs.
We
man.
had no idea. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
Well, thank you, brother.
guys.
We really do appreciate you, man. We will definitely be connecting in the future too. I know there's a lot to come. Hopefully, hopefully this blows up, story goes out, and your podcast goes out too. But y'all, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you,
good
Jojo.
stuff.
Thank you for being here. All right, yo, Reentry Network Podcast. We out.
We out. Appreciate you
There
guys.
you go,
All
man.
right.